Under pressure. You've been. It's taking a moment. Come on.
I'm just saying, if I disappear for a minute, it's probably because I've gone to the toilet. But so don't panic if you were all talking and my screen goes to the thing. Just
But you
saying.
Don't you
have
take
to
your
turn
camera with
off
you?
your microphone. Take off your microphone.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Oh, wait, we're
Yeah.
on then.
Oh
Yes.
yes.
It's
Oh God, yeah. I hear you on the toilet.
Yeah, we're on. Hello, welcome. It's been. It says setting up on Zoom, but actually on my Android it says Spirit. It says we're on. So just let me. Here we go.
Yes.
Yep. Welcome. It is. What is it? The 29th of September, 24. Just in case you didn't know where you was, what day it is. Welcome to our world. Just double check. With today. There we go. We're on. Hello. Echo. We've got a special show for you today, and I think you might need a pen and paper. You might want to get a drink. It might be a long one. It's definitely going to be lively. We have a special guest with us, with myself, Anders, Albert, and Kevin. That will be Callie Spell. So bear with us and let me get the introduction that I have prepared whilst we've been chatting. Who is Callie? Well, she's a Lancashire lass, I believe. Lovely lady of linguistics and light. Callie comes equipped with a law degree. Letters after her name. What? LLB, I believe, ONS. She is a trained yoga teacher. She has her own network and YouTube channel. You can search Dark Matters. Callie is. I'll put the description in the description the links to her network and channel. As always, we'll put that in after the live show today has finished. Callie is on the road quite a bit from what I've seen. She's attending talks and seminars. Callie's cup runneth over, much like mine and the admins. Callie is full of energy and passion, from what we've seen and heard so far. You know, we're very excited to have her on the show, very grateful. And to close down SPL's Indiglow, Man of David, has asked for feminine energies to step up and speak up because we are inundated with the pale, stale, male, preposterous environment, and we're sick of it. We want a balance, and there's a reason, you know, why the scriptures banned the feminine women folk, the temptation of the skin and the flesh. You know, you sinners out there. I'll leave it there, and we're very happy to be blessed. Be blessed. Yeah, that's always coming in. We're happy to have her today. Callie, would you like to say hello to the scribes and follow on from that? Thank you.
Oh, thanks, David. It's an honor to be here with you guys. So yeah, I'm very very blessed, as I say. So yeah, I've followed David for not literally, obviously, you understand people that would be weird. But I've followed him for a few years. So it's a real yeah, it's really cool to meet Kevin and Anders and Albert and the rest of the team. Yeah, I've been this, I would say, for since the pandemic. I'm a trained lawyer, as you say, David, LLB honors, but of course, you know that system doesn't teach us what we know. It just wants its minions, you know. It wants you to understand it and create solicitors and bar members and nodding dogs and the rest. So I soon kind of I saw through that very early on and went on to be a journalist, actually. I wanted to be an investigative journalist. And I saw through that. So I had a place at the Manchester Evening News and I binned it off because I realised that it was all owned by the same bunch and all the same malarkey. And I've just kind of gone on from there, really. And I do talks and workshops. I have a very heavy bent on the spiritual aspect of the law and the decoding of it and language, etc. and so on. And kind of just shining that our light really on the deception and deceit of the legal system. And yeah, I'm very passionate about it. I would say like I'm a bit of a whack-a-mole. They try and bring me down, I just pop back up. Hence the YouTube channel. A bit of an accidental podcaster, so bear with me on that. But yeah, I think it's kind of fun, really, in lots of ways. It's a very interesting time to be alive, as they say, isn't it? That's for sure. And here I am, a trained actor, reduced to the status of a bum.
Oh, you have to be careful with your words. When you say trained actor, were you just for the benefit of
Oh
all?
God, yeah.
Yeah, come on now. What you doing? Making life hard for us, lass. Hey up.
Well, that's actually a quote. I should clarify from with Nail and I. You know, I'm not a
Ah,
shill. I'm not yeah, that I know that, but maybe maybe other people don't. But that might get edited out now, saying I am a shill.
no, we're live.
There you
You can't edit. There's no rewind and all of that. It's as it is. So then there might be somebody, a few, saying whatever. I'm sorry to be like, we're gonna have this a lot, but people take things literally sometimes, and there are actors out there, that have. But yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that, gentlemen, brothers, Fockers. Would you like to introduce and say hello and whenever you want? Thank you. Thank you, Callie.
Should I start so it goes quick?
Go on, Anders.
Yeah, because nobody can hear Kevin. Yeah, yeah, I'm Anders as usually, and I'm always repeating myself, but that's normal because I'm stuttering. So yeah, that's it. You know me here on this channel, and I'm really interested tonight because I want to ask Carly why she was choosing the name Carly Spells and why she has the title Dark Matter, because I think that's a little bit heavy. It's a little bit dark. That's what I think. I should choose something happy. But anyway, that will be my question for this night.
Okay, cool. Shall I answer it now? Shall I go in?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, go on, lass. Yeah,
Let's do it.
Callie.
So the story was with the Carly spell, it was a bit accidental. So I am a trained yoga teacher. That's what I was doing before the lockdown, and I'm a big believer in, the universe has other plans for you. Life is what happens to you whilst you're busy making other plans. So I my yoga business was called Kali Yuga Genesis because I realized we were in the age of the Yuga, or the end of the age of destruction. So it kind of came from my studies around there. And then the Genesis meant the rebirth. So I don't hide my real name, as I always say. My real name is Jill. And I had a Facebook account with my real name on. And then the more outspoken I became after the lockdown hit, and I was saying off screen, I've been awake, though awake is a part for the dead. I don't really like that term, but I was awake from my early 20s. So as soon as they pulled that nonsense, I knew exactly what it was. So I went straight to town, trying to just use my logic, and because obviously logic seemed to go out the window with critical thinking. And I am a bit aspergic. I do tend to, if something doesn't make sense, I want it to make sense, and I kind of am quite relentless, and I won't stop. So yeah, my original Facebook got taken down. Then the community standards came in. So I came back as a variety of names on Facebook, really. But as I was learning commercialized leans, we were talked about the Baron David Ward, and whatever people want to think about the Baron, he opened my mind and taught me so much about commercial law, commercial practice, and well, the legal system, all that kind of nonsense. I studied the common law, but I knew that wasn't just it, and I just kind of I basically was the admin. I became the admin in his groups, and obviously, I got removed from face. I think it was J Hazeltree, the last one, because Hazeltree is a derivative of my surname, etymologically speaking, which means those that reside by the hazel trees, because the Druids used to make their staffs out of the old hazel trees. So it kind of links back to my kind of lineage. So I thought, well, I'll call myself Carly from the Kali Yuga, and then spell, obviously, because I was getting into the double speak and the serpent tongue of the legalese, the forked tongue, and learning and decoding that. I picked spell because of the spelling, because of the spell on our consciousness, etc. But spell, actually, or spellen, comes from the High German, which means to tell. So I am the goddess of destruction and time, Kali, the goddess of destruction and time, and we know that they worship, it's all about shipping, isn't it? And, they worship time. It's all to do with maritime law, which is sea of time. So I became the goddess of destruction and time, and I came to tell. So I don't know whether it was an accident. I don't believe in accidents. I think things are written in the stars. So I think so. So I became Carly Spell. Now, as things went by, I want to say, if they needed help, go see Carly, go see Carly. Though, it might be the blind leading the blind if you're seeking help from me, but I mean, like, mentally. But that kind of it stuck. So when I started to get asked to do workshops and talks, I thought, well, do I go by my real name, Jill, or do I use Carly Spell? But everybody knew me as Carly Spell. So that's the story of it. And it stuck like muck. So the dark matters thing obviously was probably like 4 years later. I mean, the site, the network that I run, it's strength through grounded awareness. I try and network in with everybody, and I try and network those people in with each other, especially those that are, perhaps not, let's say, operating from massive egos, who are actually, doing, walking the walk and not just talking the talk. And like we were saying off camera, for you shall know them by their fruits. I tend to try and trust energy now above what people are saying to me, and I've made a whole load of mistakes and pulled a whole load of knives out my back by trusting what people have said to me rather than going off their energy. And that's a long documented journey. But it's like the hero's journey. It's the quest in it, the question that drives us. It is the quest. If we don't have kind of some struggles and things to hop over along the way, then I suppose it's kind of a bit of a dull ride. So I don't take it too seriously, and I don't take myself too seriously. But the dark matters thing came about because I went on a podcast that my friend was running, and they were like, wow, like all that information, do you want to do your own podcast? And I was like, not really, no. Like, no work that I've got on, but I was a bit tempted, so I did. And then that's how Dark Matters was born. So as I say, the reason I call it Dark Matters is because, especially with this 5D new age kind of movement that is highly focused on light, love, rainbows, fluffy, everything, bang your drum, do all that. I knew from my occult studies, like studying Blavatsky, Theosophy, Pike, Manly P Hall, all the rest of it. There's two sides to the coin of things, and the dark does matter. And it isn't about that I'm boiling bunnies on a weekend or doing any kind of rituals in my though
Hey,
there's
oh,
time for that,
Moloch.
yeah. Yeah. I've already said I'm a trained actor. I might as well just get it all out. I've got my big hood on. Do my chanting. It's nothing to do with that. But also, like, I think a lot of this realm is based on trauma, pain, and suffering, which is again what the legal system, or that Saturnian element of that. Certainly they worship the perverse element of Saturn, which is to do with time and death and rebirth and suffering, etc., and so on. But there is another side to the dark, which is the transmutation of it, or the alchemizing of dark in spirit. And I think to defeat the dark, you need a little dark. That doesn't mean I am dark, but I was just trying to highlight that it's not just one side to that puzzle, and they purposely are pushing that 5D New Age movement, because if we actually do kind of dip in, and we have to face our own dark and demons, don't we? And when because we're always saying they're doing it to us, it's them, the elites, they're doing it, but it's because we've not looked at it, and it's because it's been we're doing it. We're propelling it with our own ignorance, and as we know, ignorance is no defense of the law. So a lot of people are like, Kylie, why do you call it Dark Matters? Why you call Kylie Goddess Seduction of Time? So it's all gone a bit dark, and it was kind of, well, I don't believe in accidents, so maybe I'm a bit dark, but but not really, no. But that's why, if that makes sense, that was my thinking anyway. Whether it's correct or not, you decide, I suppose.
No, I like that explanation and the playing with the words, because dark actually matters too, So
Yes.
yeah. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
I think so.
Wow, it's brilliant. I'm loving this. We've actually, asked for the feminine energies to step up, and what you've stepped up with, and what you're bringing to the table, your mixture, your vocabulary, your knowledge, your experience. It's like, it's for me. I'm very happy, and I'm looking forward to the future. Relationship growing, partnership, acquaint. We're speaking at ease. Don't worry about what we say and how we say it. I was just taking the mick earlier, but we need to be aware of certain things, and the YouTube community guidelines. Yeah, we take it tongue in cheek. Most of the scribes on this channel, they're just the same as us, and on the spectrum. Yeah, definitely, we're all, I would say, on the autism, Asperger's. We question authority, and we don't let fear control us. As such, we govern ourselves. We don't need a book or government, whether that be the legislative, the administrative, legislative, the juridical, government. Where is it? What is it? It's in them three forms. We govern ourselves. We're accountable for our actions. Awake, we say, conscionable. We work on trust, our bond, our word. Saturn, Chronos, hearing, the rings of Saturn. Oh, we've got loads. We can, it's brilliant. I'm so overwhelmed, not underwhelmed, which is a rarity for me. Kevin, would you like to, or Albert, would you like to comment on what you've heard so far? I'm sure you would. I'll yield. Yeah.
Yeah, it all sounds in alignment with. We're probably not quite as deep as you are, Callie, but it's certainly aligned with the way of thinking and acting, etc. So you sound like a perfect fit to me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm honestly, I'm like I say, it's really, really cool to be here. And one of the parts of the Dark Matters Network is to do exactly that, just to network in and people doing amazing things. And as much as they, them, the dark, the elvens, the elites, whatever you want to call them, Sirius worshippers, etc., and so on, as much as they want to, keep coming at us saying that this is going to happen and that's going to happen, that's that play on our consciousness. So if we kind of I think anything that's presented to us is probably a load of balls, but anything that we're doing on the ground, it's that victim savior template. Someone else is going to do it for you, and as we know, like that kind of sovereign or that sovereignty or sovereignty is it's within, for the kingdom is within, and it's as above so below, so within so without. Like I say, if you pull the curtain back to see, like in the Wizard of Oz, to see who's controlling everything, it's actually us. It's actually our hijacked consciousness, I believe, and whatever's been placed on kind of the true Edenic template, which is why obviously scripture and language, getting back to that, getting back to the land, getting back to being men and living men and women, and as David said, about feminine energy, I think that rise of the feminine, certainly in the early days of the movement, and the truth of the movement's just lost the plot. I mean, be careful when you fight the monsters, lest you become one, as Nietzsche said, because that's literally what's rife out there. So I try and stay, well clear and well away from it. But, we beaver away in the background and we all just keep doing our bit. But certainly I think the unicorn has been unchained, and in the beginning it was the women that were turning up a lot, but it's beautiful to see the men in this country, and it gets back against what we were talking about on when David came on my podcast and Anders, this attack and assault on men. Let a woman be a woman and a man be a man. It sounds like a simple thing, but it's certainly something that they're trying to get rid of, as we know, with transhumanism, this version of the sexes, etc., and so on. And like suicide being one of the biggest killers of men under 45, because men don't, it's so ostracizing, and as we know, it's all been purposely done. So if I can kind of get, we're kind of like saying to the men, we say the women, like, we're really sorry about all that feminism shit that we all sucked up. And actually, can you come back and help us? Because men are so valuable and beautiful, and so and I'm happy if I can. I'm very balanced in my energies. I'm kind of quite androgynous, I think, and that's just my nature. It's my character, again, written in the stars. So I kind of get on with men very well, but I think I kind of keep a nice balance, and there's so many powerful women doing so many beautiful things, but also the men too. So, we can kind of start coming back together, union, the yoke, as they say in yoga, that divine union. They don't want that. They don't want that at all. So it's such an important part of where we're going, and where and what we need to remember, like, how can we know where we're going? And that's why they hide our history, they hide our past, they lie to us about everything, so we're so muddled and confused. And I at Dark Matters try and bring that back. Whether I succeed or not, I suppose, becomes irrelevant. They won't stop me. Online safety bill or not.
I will stop you there, Kevin. What do you reckon? Yes, thoughts, feedback.
Yeah, I'm loving everything I'm hearing. When you get somebody like Callie, it's a bit like you, Dave. You sort of say a lot of stuff, and then somebody says, "Got any comments?" You think, well, what else can I add? What can I add to that? I could throw in some swear words. I'm good at that.
Should you be judged? Yeah.
Go on, Albert. It's your time to shine. Go on, then.
Why should you be judged? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems lovely.
Yeah.
We get what you've done. Yeah. For me, yeah, I've only heard your name a few times or whatever, and it is lovely to meet you. Yeah, and listen.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
Good
That's really
man.
kind. Yeah. I'm yielding, I'm being quiet, which is rare for me. So let you guys get a word in edgeways.
Chat
That's
room,
sometimes
I would
quite
like
nice.
you. If you're on the replay, comments and anything. If you've met or seen Callie speaking, this isn't an interview as such. It's an informal, laid-back splashdown. This is show number one. There are going to be several more, and I hope she will return, or we'll go over to her channel as well. But we've made a decision. Well, I've proposed a decision, and as the governor, and as we are still building the boat as we sail it, so to speak, I think that whilst we are approaching remedy for equitable relief and alternative provisions for and especially now with Kia and Rachel Reeves gunning for every penny they can scoop from absolutely every dark crevice, elderly, disabled, mentally afflicted, it doesn't matter, it seems, under this present government. So we're still about poised. There are things happening in the private. It might have been quiet for a while, but we are heading on that course. We are still on that, what would you call it there, that destination is still within our sights for alternative provisions, equitable relief for the capital gains made by the state, moving from public to private, and I'll leave it there. So navigating our way in stormy waters without any compasses, and we're going to get back to shore. But with what we've brought to you over the last 10 years since, the trust was the sovereign paralegals, est nunc pro tunc, DGSS 1111 2015, 9 years ago now. So that's it. We're getting old and tired. we are about ready to strike what with regards to one time and remedy for that, not with 1099 Winston Shrouts. We warned about that when Shrout got locked up many years ago for this W9 something sandwich, etc. We're not using the passe syntax correct grammar structure. We're going in a different way. We've brought you up to this point. The biggest remedy that we can give you is the fact that the King James version, the authorized version of that particular edit of the scriptures, the New World Testament, is the source of authority for the Londinium Templars law society legal system. And within that, we've brought your remedy up to a very high point compared to 2000s, the noughties, end of the noughties, beginning of the millennium, 2000, etc. We've helped change the game. We've seen how the language, we, you, us, SPLs, the royal we, not David and who's on channel, all of us, collectively, and we should be proud of that. But unfortunately, yes, it seems that toxic male energy, to quote the mainstream, and to quote such speakers, as on YouTube, thought leaders are making it apparent that men are committing suicide. The biggest killer in England, if you want to research it, under 40 for men, is I can't. If I say suicide, it'll probably get bleeped, and you haven't heard that word. So they're ending their lives prematurely.
Unaliving.
Yes, they're no longer here. They've checked out. All right. So you'll see Jordan Peterson's one of the prolific speakers at the moment on this narrative. There are many others. So we're aware of that. Family breakdown, fathers not having access to their property, their sons, daughters, etc. This is disturbing for us. So we're going to look at more shows, and we're going to talk to you, and we're going to set up, we'll say, a council of a collective, a steering wheel committee, a community. We're speaking English, we're not talking about communism. When I say community, we're talking about a community, a social structure of private help for these sessions in England right now, and United Kingdom, both jurisdictions. You don't need legally, academically, you don't need to be qualified. There are qualified therapists and counsellors out there with a great deal of acumen, But for us, we don't need to conform to any prerequisite of academic or legal attributes for the counselling and therapy. So we're going to look at that moving forwards with regards to how we can help, what we can do. When we say we've got skin in the game, I'm autism, Asperger's, ADHD for myself. I haven't always released this in the early years. Thought about ending my time on this planet realm early as well. It's not been easy for any of us. Some of us make 8 Mile look like an episode of the Teletubbies to some extent. So we've got harrowing stories and experiences of our own, but you might want to keep private, you might want to air and share them. So moving forward, we'll have other guests and speakers on that may be of interest to us and to that movement, to that growth in that direction, and see if we can then look at also teenage sessions for perhaps we keep the grown, mature adulterers. I'm always conscious of my words, but you know what I'm saying. We need to keep the young bloods separate and look at doing 2 separate channels of interaction. Perhaps privately, we'll publicly come out and let you know what we're doing, but I think it would be best that we let you know that it's not going to be live on Choob. It will be with us in a trust scenario, not the main trust. Es nunc pro tunc is now for then. So what we do now, we're doing for then, and our bloods, our young stars, are the ones that are now, and they will be, hopefully here then. Otherwise, we're in trouble. There is a narrative, and there is a lot of pressure. There's a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of I don't know what we'd say here. A lot of the only help that people think that souls think they can find is through the public, governmental, third party avenues, which are generally CBT and other such counselling areas, which aren't the greatest or the most beneficial or even the most experienced. If they're like the lady that assessed me for 3 hours for my first, after a 3-year wait, a 3-hour assessment for ASD, which is the autistic spectrum disorder. I don't believe it is a disorder. I'd say it's more of an advantage, but she ended the call by saying, David, if you want to know how to cope best with certain attributes of your character and self, and to further develop, she commended on the way I was and what I'd given to her to describe my traits. She said that you are all going to be better off helping yourselves rather than coming to a place like this, because you live, you deal with it, and so by sharing that you will be able to work with one another in a more beneficial way, rather than coming to somebody who isn't autistic and on the spectrum and with hyper ADHD or hyperactivity. And dyslexia is not really a big problem, neither is autism, to be fair, because we've seen like what we see. It's not a disadvantage to anybody, so we've got a lot to be looking forward to in the future and utilising those benefits of. So to close down the work we've done over the last 10 years and what we've brought to you linguistically, etymologically speaking, phonically speaking, gematria speaking, mathematically speaking, legally, lawfully, we have a great umbrella of attributes each one of you brings and experiences, and we can look at how that is going to be beneficial, because not all of it is going to be, but how we teach you who you are and what you are and when you are, and obviously controlling your emotions, what you eat, and having a healthy, balanced diet. It's not always easy, it's not always practical. And then obviously the work that we teach, the work that we've done, and the evidences that become apparent, then how you then cognize and remove the cognitive dissonance, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT therapy. Sorry, it's similar, but we've got our own style, and the work that we've done helps you in a spiritual, physical, and obviously then long-term mental state, and you're becoming wealthy of mental being, and what you inwardly project, you will outwardly attract. Like Mark Pazio and Alan, what's he called? Hang on, Mark Pazio, and then you've got Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton are the ones that have really helped me Nassim Haramein, Alan Watts, like you dropped some names in with Blavatsky, and Rudolf Steiner. To be fair, Alan Watt, and these, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. So we haven't created anything. There's nothing new under the sun, but we've got a new style, and we are a new breed of the new seed coming to help the creeds. And I'm going to yield there and let anybody chelp in with that, and I'll check the chat room, and
Yes, then
see
I
where
can
we fall.
comment here.
Thank you,
I would
Anders.
like to comment on the counseling. When we start to talk about that we should help people with the counseling. Mostly that is because if people, for example, have something about their children or something, they have a divorce or something, and then they go to the government, they go to the child care center, and they let them involve themselves there. And that's when people start to take their own life, because they can't cope with it, because somebody else, they have been coming into their life, they've been snatching their kids and everything. So that's why we said also that we have to come in before the government comes in. So we are saying that if you have problem, we can try to speak to you, and at one time that we actually have a licensed therapist with us, and she was really good too. So that is really important that we do this not only by lawful means and legal means, it's for the care of other people, and we see where the problem is coming from. So if we can stop that. So that was one part of it. I yield.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and I think that's especially for maybe whether you Aspergic or whatever is it's the neuro juicy I call it, or neuro spicy. It's a gift as much as it comes perhaps with its perhaps downsides and some of the points. But one of the others one of the other big thing they say with Asperger's is this sense of injustice, or this lack of justice, and that's the bit that kind of gets my goat, as I say. It's the lie of it and the deceit of it. But that's what the whole system's built on. It literally is all an illusion, isn't it? I mean, when you get to it, it literally is construct. I mean, obviously, you guys use equity and trust. Check my channel out at the moment. See the work we're doing. We're utilizing constitutional law, but even as I say, there's the word cons in it. It's still the system. But we're having good results and it works, because the thing is, as we know, it's about wrapping them up with their own rules. We stay in the private, they're public. There is no general public. They are public servants, but obviously they're in these private bar offices now. But it's this picking of the lower hanging fruit that really kind of is one of the most upsetting things. Like, say, disabled people who can't stand up for themselves, or maybe single mothers with children. They're always going to go for the that end and that rung of society first. And I just the bullies at the end of the day, and the weak, and they're far weaker than us. Without going too woo and too spiritual, for me, they are cut off from source in that sense, which is why they lose on that energy in a world that's based on pain and suffering, or they create that. We're talking about them, they, and if you're interested in who they, them are, again, go to my channel plug, because this is what I do a lot of work on, talking about the Elvens, the Elven tribes, and digging deep into our history. Now, doesn't mean that I'm saying I'm 100% correct, but I have a strong idea that stories move consciousness and narratives move consciousness, and whatever story it is that moves your consciousness, if that's kind of it's moving in the right direction, the devil is in the detail, because the devil's in the detail, so they get us arguing with who's right and who's wrong, when really it's usually about unity, love, and authenticity, allegedly being the highest frequency. So like my journey, I just started speaking out because I could just see the lies and the deceit and the ridiculousness of everything. And like it says in scripture, we know why we use scripture, like David says, the King James version, etc. I think that it is a scripted reality to that degree. We are playing out a script. It's written in the stars. And this idea that we can kind of get back to where we were meant to be, but that it doesn't really matter what story that is that you want to believe, or there's a lie in belief. But certainly just to speak out, it says in scripture, when you know, tell others. So as much as I say, like, my head likes to be, people try and chop your head off when you stick it above the parapet. And people can do amazing work in different ways. It doesn't mean that you have to have a podcast or, be speaking out in the way that I do, but just to kind of, just to keep talking and to keep speaking. And I, as I say in the stars, if this gives people any kind of solace, the Draco constellation, which is we're going into our myths and Nephilim stories and origin myths. Maybe not so much myth, but you decide. These bloodlines, etc., are taking a bashing in the stars astrologically, because I do believe that it is astrological, astrotheological, and anatomical scripture, but it also happened because everything's happening all at once and everything's happening at the same time because we create it. But Hercules with his, I can't remember if it's a hammer or a club, is actually bashing the Draco constellation in the stars at the moment, allegedly in the age of Aquarius and all that. Now, I'm not going 5D woo-woo with that because I don't do 5D woo-woo. This is kind of, like I say, it's astrotheological. This is something that we can show that's actually happening on the ground. And actually, we are, like David said, we are stood on the back of all the good men and women who've come before us. Like we're not doing anything new under the sun, and we're literally stood on the back of petrified titans, and all of us are starting, well, maybe not all yet, but that we are starting, and to awaken to all of this. And that is a consciousness tip, which is why it's just so important to plant seeds and just to keep, the light is on the ground, as I would say, or the dark matters is on the ground in my instance. But certainly the system is to subvert, invert, and pervert, and that's been, that's what's causing this pain and this suffering of all of us, or has been for a very long time. And time to flip the switch.
Flip the script. Yeah, that's right. They do feed on the low-hanging fruit. The legal system, we talk of law, legal, and the parallels between that. We find that we don't really much have called for constitution. I'm not saying it isn't valid or that it isn't relevant, but we have myself, the skin in the game, what we've used, how we've turned things around. We recognise the legal system, we recognise the legislative arm of government, and how it is there to manage the employees of government. So we're not here to go through, break it all down. Most are aware anyway, but yes, the dark side of it is the low-hanging fruit, legal, like slavery, for instance. We'll go slavery. Forced slavery is illegal, but voluntary slavery, that's okay. Apparently, not. This isn't my opinion. It's not any of the panel's opinion. It is the opinion of the present government directorate lordships in place at moment. And we'll go one further. The 10 maxims of commercial law. Those that do not assert their rights are what? Seen and viewed as having no rights. That's not fair. That's not cricket. That's not British. That's not sovereign. That's fucked up shit, to be fair. Yeah, so we're not down with that. This is got to a point where we are very close to seeing mass unrest in political climates such as this. We're coming together to see what commonalities we have. To introduce you to Callie, I've put links to her YouTube channel in the chat there, and it will be put into the video description after the show is finished. And we're here to chat, and to join up and to see what works in many areas for all, and why it works, what you've done, what you've tried legally, lawfully, your problems, your issues. And how we can strengthen one another and share what we've learned, and how we view and interpret things. It's always subjective and objective, the truth that we see, and when we get together, we chat, we learn that then that truth is still the same, hasn't changed from 5, 10, 15 years ago, but you'll start to see it in a different way. You'll understand why we see that the legal system operates the way that it does, the biblical system operates the way that it does, the ecclesiastical church system operates, and the constitutional, they're there to govern those employees of those companies, We are keeping company today. Good company, private company, public company. You have a person. Someone's asked a question. If I can just segue in, because I'll forget about. What do you think about the description of person that somebody? It was Leave My Rights Alone had said. What do you think of the way of the peacekeepers claim it has nothing to do with question? What does anyone think of peacekeepers' reaction to the word person? I don't know, because I haven't seen that and I'm not privy to it. But when you say person, yes, we know that what the Bible says, the scriptures and the various editions of them, but in particular, you would need to look at the KJV and the four warnings of God and no respect of person, paraphrase. You'd need to look at the person in the Black's Law, legal dictionary, English dictionary. The word person having the definition in for Black's Law, especially. It's very strange that they use the subject matter to define the subject matter within the description. It's not very clear. It's quite wrong in a way, to paraphrase. Purse on, you could think of that as money, a purse, a woman's purse, sonically, so we know, and I've done videos and topics on this subject, but we understand what a person is: a legal personality, a straw man, an entity, and we recognise what the biblical warnings are, and we're here to help. So I said, if you ask questions, or you can see the chat room, guys, and you want to chip in or help out, or you see a question to yourselves, we'll monitor that, and it's an interactive chat. So again, human, is it Ballantynes, where people say, David, you can't use the word authentic human because human means monster? Really, does it? Well, what society are you in, and does it really mean monster? Well, in Ballantynes, I believe it will be quoted as monster. In Black's, it might be something else. In Oxford, it'll be something else. So again, just stop it, okay? That's great, and it's good that you're aware and you know. But we are speaking the common tongue, our mother's tongue, not the devil's fork tongue. And we teach you how to recognise certain red flags and warnings, and how to interpret via the relationships that are pointed out, and how things are, and how to reset them, and how to have the correct title. And we have a little bit of fun. Callie, you've noticed with us, we especially try to put lyrical content together so people don't drone off, so their saturation points don't filter out. Let me mute this, sorry, schoolboy error. We got faith. We don't need Bibles. Don't take the Archangel Michael. It's quite vital you hear this recital. You shall all hold the equitable title. We get high on the opposite of nitol. Shit like that. We need it. It's fun. It's what we do. It keeps people involved. And we have to laugh in the face of adversity rather than cower and fear. Oh, Manly P. Hall. Oh, you've mentioned, other Crowley and others. Oh, no, you're into... No, we are strong enough to go and immerse ourselves into this area to see what is there, what might not be there. Go on, I yield.
Sorry about the finger there.
That's good. No, do it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, exactly that. Like it's they make us fearful of that kind of side of that occult, because it's a powerful thing. It's definitely. That's just all I kind of wanted to say, really.
Sigils. Witches, signature, sign of nature, sigils, magic, dark magic. There's even a song in the charts by Little Mix some time ago about sex, magic, and something. And I can't recite it all, but it's in your face. It isn't hidden and as subtle as it was now. The symbols, the gestures, the numerology, the alphanumerical links, the shapes that people are making, the content of the channels now. I was just watching something new the other day called Inside Job. Just have a look at the trailer for Inside Job on YouTube. It is on a streaming network, and Hall, Lovecraft, Crowley, and other such people, Blavatsky, magic, sigils. It's Jordan Maxwell that got me into this personally. When I first heard him speak, I went, "Shut up! Who is this man? He can't be real. This is not. The founding fathers, Illuminati, Freemasons." And it turns out he was bang on the money. If you do your research, so they weren't honourable. The Constitution of America, it's not for us. It wasn't written by us. It is what it is. And the founding founding fathers for America were not honourable. We could look at the history of England, but it's long. It's easy for me to contrast to America because Columbus, Christopher Columbus, and whom he was, and what happened, and his discovery. Much like it's why they had the moon race, the space race for the moon. Why? Because they need to plant the flag of who has the ownership to what's the word? What do you do when you colonize, colony and colonizing and claiming of the jurisdiction and titles and property and rights? So, for instance, I've segued off from America to the moon. It's a rather large jump, but the importance is that they want to claim their property rights, and even in space, the seas of space. It's so interesting. What we are facing, this dark, macabre, clandestine, nefarious, spellcasting, Skull and Bones, 666, the Council of Foreign Affairs, bloodletting, adrenochrome. It's just insane. And you think that, for us to be honourable and to be calm and patient in the face of such adversity, the courts are all Masonic. It's a fact. The checker thing, the police everywhere around the world, the checker, they show you in their symbology. I yield again. It's going in a lovely direction. Come on.
Well, I was thinking about this today because I had a guest on the podcast called Logan Jason Piet, and he talks a lot about scripted reality, and he's the study of numerology really, and gematria and all these kind of things. But one of the things I kind of pieced together from watching a lot of his videos, and it kind of hit me because obviously they say, in relation to the police, the police aren't there, we know, to help us, not the policy officers now, etc. And that's been since Tony Blair in the early 90s, with the Corporations Act, etc. But this is why the police say, you're nicked. And why, if we look at the language of it, why that, why you nicked? Because it comes from Old Saint Nick, which is Old Saint Nick is, related to nickel, but it's the blue bloods. That's why they call them the boys in blue. Old Saint Nick is Lucifer, Satan, so that's why they call them the boys in blue, because you've got the copper bloods or the blue bloods or these, these families, and it's just when I kind of got that, I was like, oh crap, they. This is they are supporting these bloodlines and these draconian bloodlines, and it's just every word is linked and it just kind of literally means something. I mean, there's that what's that thing? I can't remember the word, David, where they say, if some people say, oh, you're one of those people who just read meaning into everything, and I think there's a term for it, and I can never
literalist. I don't know.
Conspiracy
theory. Sorry.
And I'm like, yeah, but it literally does, and when you do say, we know how powerful the language is. Once you break it down like that, it's like religion, and I always use this example, so if people have seen me before, bear with me. But we look at religion and we see what it does, and we know how divisive it is. For those that have eyes to see, anyway, at the least, not for millions and millions of people stuck in those religions. But forget it all, because when you literally break the word down in the Latin meaning of religion, it means to hold back, to thwart, to bind, to
ligatures,
constrict.
yeah, lig.
So it's literally, you don't need to know anything more about religion than the word and the decode of the word itself. It's like that the decode of language is
well, just look at the dogma. Look at who was it that Santos was on about? Giordano Bruno, and what they did to him at the stake for daring to speak up about against the dogma, against the narrative of the Catholicism and its teachings and its doctrine. Dogma in itself. So again, it's contrived, isn't it? Chattel. When you look at, for me, what's helped me is looking at the words being the way that we are wired differently. There's no disability here or with any of you. This is why it's interesting when you look at and you speak to others and they bring unto the fold these areas and teachings and spellings, and you get into it and you go into, you're like, what's etymology? What do you mean the origin word? Well, look at the English language with Anders on the show and what he's brought to from Sweden and the northern area, the Vikings, the Frisian language, the gematria, the Germanic, the English, the Francais, what we've got mixed up, what we're speaking, Babel in itself, Oxford, the Queen's English. What's the difference between American English and the Queen's English? Things like this. It makes you, if you just stop, because it's so varied and massive, a YouTube channel called Chiron Last, a YouTube channel with the author. He's just second. He might not be bang on with everything, but he's 80%.
No.
He's got enough. You know what I mean? That to me just got me like, oh, okay then. So we need to go back to the drawing board and reassess and look at these, get these dictionaries. And it's not always easy because people. Wow. The light's just jumped off the wall that's been there about, I don't know, 2 years, and it's just decided to jump off and land on the floor. That's quite scary. That was loud, I'm sorry, and I wasn't expecting that. The hook's still there.
Spirit is with us, David. Spirit is with us.
What the
It's a
frick?
sign. We're on
Whoa.
the right path.
Is it? Yeah, good old. I don't know. It's just a funny. Moving on. So yeah, these things are what then. It's tangible. So when we look at to close down, what was one that really intrigued me when he was on about police and nicked and I like that finding the sayings and the customs and the origin of something that we've said for ages, the common tongue, but we don't know why we say it or where it's from. It's just everybody does it and says it, and it's like Lancashire, Sheffield, Doncaster, Manchester, Bradford, London. They all have their own as well. Scotland, Ireland. It's just fantastic. But let's get to the point. Person, as Leave My Rights has said, and Peacekeepers, whatever, that was interesting because it was Chiron Last that was saying about the Romans and their entertainment and the Colosseum, etc., and the way that the seating was, and the actors at the front in the whatever, the crucible, the area where they entertain. The people at the far back in the cheap seats couldn't hear what was being said, so eventually at some point they wear masks, and the masks had lips that were pursed, so the sonics. The voice, which is sonic, obviously from the voice box, it's audio, so it's phonetic and it's sonic vibration. Those voices were then somewhat extended out because of the pursed lips. So the actors, the Latin, the etymology of the word person links back to mask. If you look for Latin, and then like but it doesn't tell you in Latin dictionaries and ecclesiastical and all of the things through the history and the antiquities, you don't always find the detailed accurate. It's very ambiguous or loosely termed, but for other people coming along and adding it just really fascinated me. It's not an English word. It sounds like an English word in the person. The police, when they arrest you, have you got anything on your person? They actually, so when you get into it, and like people have said to you, yeah, you're one of those people that takes things literally, conspiracy theorist and a troublemaker, yes, or whatever it is, yes, resilient to authority. No, I've just got a brain and I ask questions and I think. That's the thing George Carling said, didn't he? I'm a thinker. The government, they don't like that. Thinking people, what? No, we can't. So yes, it's. I'll leave it there. I've said enough. Echoing back. Go on.
We're a dying breed, aren't we? But allegedly, as our sun and Sirius do this cosmic dance, apparently coming into this age of Aquarius, is when we're starting to use more of our brains, and it's kind of coming back to us, and it's just something that we've perhaps lost, and some of us have got there far sooner than others. And it's like what you say about trauma and long dark nights of the soul, and potentially kind of you've been in some dark places, David, like you said, personally. And so have I. And I think, it really is as cheesy as it sounds. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But then I think about this realm and I think, this idea that pain and suffering is good for us. They teach you that at Roman Catholic school. Oh, pain's really good for you. Jesus died on the cross. You need to suffer. I'm not even kidding. This is what we got taught. And right from, talking about, sad stories. But my sister died when she was 14 of leukemia. So I had to watch somebody I love very,
Oh,
very much from a very
condolences.
young age die a slow, painful, horrible death. So can you imagine going back into school into religious education studies? I was like, I grew up pretty quick and was like, I don't think that's correct. So again, it's everything we've been kind of told in these institutions, in academia, we're having to kind of untie all the knots that have been tied, into us. But it certainly does give you a different angle on things. And academic means, doesn't it, of little or no value. And so again, it doesn't really matter what the argument is, like what people want to say. There is no argument when you decode the word, for in the from the beginning was the word. And we know that it's the most powerful tool. Words create sentences. That's why a judge passes a sentence. Jurisdiction. Juris means law, diction means words. It's just law words. Like we were saying, we talk about constitutional law. Just know the difference between jurisdictions, know what's lawful, know what's legal. And like you say, God is no respecter of persons. And again, when we decode all this and we can create it into a meme for people, but it really is the question that drives us. And if you can shout the answer at somebody over and over and over again, but until they've asked the question for themselves, they're not going to create that neural pathway. They're not going to kind of, embody and be it. And take as a big example, we're all running around, but for the last however many years saying the Magna Charta, or the Magna Carta, sorry, but it's the Magna Charta. So again, we've been spelling that wrong because they'll just move the word a little bit, won't they? They'll just change something ever so slightly. Like the story you said off camera, and I won't go into it in case you don't want me to, but you're at the wrong door. We know that we're close. And they know that we know that we're close. And again, things that we've put into courts because we've made one mistake wrong, they can just go and it's out because of the language. But there's so many different definitions. We've got to kind of state the definition of which we're using, or the definitions. And people will say, like Chiron, that it was the Phoenicians where we get the word phonetics. But actually it was the Finn or Phoenicians, which came from Ireland. And actually Gaelic was the true original language, not Hebrew. But a lot of people might want to shoot me for that. That's just my take on it. You might disagree with me, but again, it's the story and the narrative that moves us. And I think if we can get that, and certainly the story and the journey of the law has been a huge journey of the spirit for me, because they are one and the same. When you decode the legal system and you know the law, and like God's law, not the God of this realm, because that's another story, right? That's Sirius, Satan, Set, Isis,
Well,
whatever you want to call it, but
yeah, Canaanites, Hebrew, phonetics, Phoenicians, they've got a lot to play in it. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm only
I
going on
don't know.
what.
I say
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's the one. So we
No,
we are we are humble enough to admit mistakes
yeah,
and errors, albeit not our own, but in the research in our journalistic nature. And we will come. But that's how we grow. They are little mistakes. They are little
yeah,
amendments and so forth that we are. It's spanning how many thousands of years? If not tens of thousands. We could go pre zero before they reset the clock, calendar, etc. JC, and we're looking back. Egypt and going back, say 10, 12,000 BC plus the 2,000 here, 14,000 years. Forgive us if we do make some errors and omissions. That's going to happen. There are new evidences, artifacts being found, like the Aleppo Codex, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nag Hammadi Library. There's too much. It's just mind blowing. So yeah,
yeah,
what we need to do, what we are doing, is looking at the key and integral players with regards to the new world, zero, the clock being reset, JC, teachings, the mystical teachings. Even walking on water wasn't a literal, I don't think, act of magicianry or mysticism. It's for you to interpret and to dwell on and to figuratively figure out, which is why they have a fig leaf in the Garden of Eden. It's a figuratively figment of to coax your imagination. The fact that a fish comes out the sea in Matthew when the taxman is asking for tax, and JC and the disciple, and there's a three-party trust scenario, and the fish comes out. Again, it's teachings of wisdom and mysticism that the Ten Commandments in themselves are great. We don't obviously take all of that literally. Evidences of the thought police. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbour. How dare you try to better yourself? Know your place, sinner, etc. Yes, enjoy that pain. So language. I am fascinated with Sanskrit, should I say, and also cuneiform, and it's not always. We just, it sounds good though. The definitions, the Phoenicians, the deaf endant courts. It does have a tedious link, if that. So I am happy to hear corrections and like superstitions and evidences for and against, and then we can intelligently, humbly, and respectfully look at all of this, because it's too much, and it's not one man's job to do it, is it? Yeah.
And it's meant to obfuscate the mind, isn't it? You know, it's purposefully done. And that's why, in the end, the information, the misinformation becomes a backdrop to going within. The only way out, and I don't think there is an out, there's just, you know, there's an in. We're already here. We are the Elohim. We are the powerful ones. Wakey, wakey. And I won't say planet Earth, because that's another podcast. With around it's flat. You live in the eye of God. It's a Bible. It's all things at all times. It's that's why they call it the Bible, the Taurus field, all of it. You know, but like you say, David, and this is my biggest statement: who the fuck really knows? We don't know. And anyone who's telling you they do know, move
Kevin
away
knows.
from them quickly. You're in a cult. But you know, if you want to join the cult of spell, it's only $50 a month. Only kidding, I'm messing. But you know, you get a lot of that out there. I mean, I won't name names, but there's one guy online, and he's a chronologist, and he's got quite a big following now. But he's like, if you want to be one of the 144,000, then you know, listen to my teachings, and it's only it's only 50 quid for this course, and if you pay $75, I'm like, wow, anybody's doing stuff like that. Come on, people, like, come on, let's use some discernment here, please. I don't think that's true.
Let's take a breath, because me and you, this is what I mean. Look at this.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all good. No, it's all good. We're as bad as each other. Kevin and as Albert, interject if you wouldn't mind. You're here too. Go on, any one of you.
Get a word in.
Bless them. Yeah.
They've nodded off. I don't blame them.
No, I'm nodded off. I am looking at the chat room quite a lot on my tablet, so everybody's looking at the top of my head. But yeah, anybody that claims they've got the answers, yeah, immediately my phrase would be bullshit. And then especially if they want to come along and go, yeah, I've got all the answers, and if you pay me first, I'll get you access to everything. Oh, of course you will. Yeah. I'm going to pay you first, aren't I? Couldn't we draw up an agreement where you get me access to everything, and then I pay you? I'll sign the contract. Oh, no, I couldn't possibly do that. Then you're full of shit. Fuck off. Excuse my French.
And that's why the Christian church, Christian, and this is again, you know, don't shoot the messenger here. I might be talking absolute pants, but you know, an eon is an annuity. It's a tax system. There's nothing wrong with being of the Christ. You know, we've all got to embody the Christ, like David says. You know, Jesus walking upon water is, you know, and your viewers will know this. So I'm preaching to the converted, but you know, it's the maritime waters, isn't it? He overturned the tables in his father's temple. You know, he's overturning commerce. He's removing consumership and you know, consumerism and commerce from the mind. And you know, Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. You know, it's raising the dead fiction. It's remembering that you are a living man and woman, not a person, etc. and so on. So yes, it's allegorical because it says in Scripture. Guess what Scripture says? It says in it, it's allegorical, and that you are a God and the kingdom is within. But you know, also I do believe I had this massive epiphany that it also happened. I mean, J is a Latinized. Again, back to the language. J is Latinized, so Jesus wouldn't have been called Jesus. But I do think there was an ascending master that was the Christ, and we can all attain. I think it is Christ consciousness within us, but it is also that was probably some dude called Bob who was a yew tree worshipper in Albion, and actually, you know, but again, watch my videos online for that because you know we haven't got time. It's a big deep dive. As we know, this is why the church offers us salvage, isn't it? You know, salvation, it's salvage. Because again, you're worshipping something outside of yourself. It says in Scripture, you know, do not worship at an altar of wood and stone. So what do the Roman Catholic, including the title Roman Catholic Church, get us to do? They get us to worship at an altar of wood and stone and chant and incant, and I mean, it's crackers really when we look at it, you know. But we've been so indoctrinated into it. You know, getting out of it is difficult. But here we are. We did it. We're nearly there. I yield, as David would say. I'll shut up.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I think I was watching something the other day, and he made a very good point. I think it was Gervais, and he's going, well, basically, if God's responsible for absolutely everything, you know, so why didn't he kill Satan? Why didn't he just get rid of him? He's God for good, you know, at the end of the day. So he just go, oh, he's a bad man. If you want everybody to do good, why have you left the bad man floating about then? Don't make sense, does it?
Yeah, and again, exactly, and Satan just means adversary. I think it's something like they concocted in a sense of, but there is an energy. They worship Sirius. They all worship Sirius in the
Yeah.
legal system and you know in the bloodlines, etc. It goes kind of like saying you've got to go and study and research all this stuff for it to kind of start to thread and make sense. But there's a proverbial thread. I found that word, David, and it's called is it pareidolia?
Oh,
Pareidolia.
pareidolia,
Yeah.
where you see things that aren't there that you want to, like the face on Mars and stuff and etc. You want to see it so it's there, but it's not there.
Yeah,
Pareidolia.
I've been accused of that. I think it was my mother.
Right, chat
And I was
room.
like, oh,
Let me just sort the chat room out because this has got out of hand now. With person, all right, I made an error. I've had a long day, and yes, this is good. You're testing us now, so I've got the Latin dictionary out that will do.
nice.
It's persona, right? The word person is not an English derived person language. It's not American English. It's been adopted in like with the word we'll say tachograph. It's Greek. And lorries use them to count the clock of miles on the driver that's operating in commerce for safety and management and speed control. There's certain words within what's known as the English language. When we say English language, we'll define that as the Oxford, not the Queen's, not the American English, but the English for England here, which is a country residing within the United Kingdom, which is then registered on the Securities Exchange Commission. So they're neither real relevant to. But in this language that we have, our common tongue, the word person is allegedly derived from the word persona. When we look at the etymological root word origins, and persona in your Latin dictionary, not person, so my mistake, because person isn't existing in Latin, it's persona. And then over time, with the removal, the debased language, so the removal of Latin, because in England, let's pause that, segue now to make sense, how, why, who, where and when, English was not spoken. It was Latin and Francais. And then if you was a have-not, a commoner, and you didn't have an education, and you was a chimney sweep or a work who's poor as piss and taking your piss to the tannery for the leather industry to use and shit like that. See what I mean? When you find stuff out, you're like, what? Interesting. Ah, so that's where poor as piss comes from. Yeah, it does, Dave. They were poor as piss, lad. Right. So they couldn't speak Latin. They didn't speak French. So they had English babble. That meant you was a commoner, you was poor as piss. They didn't want to know you. So when they was in those times speaking Latin, which they've removed, which is not helpful for us nowadays, because in law, when we quote case law, landmark precedents, not all case law is going to win everything all the time, but it helps you and it puts you in good stead, and it shows what a previous judge has presided on, how he promulgated those proceedings as his arbitrator, traitor in there. Yeah, you see, it helps things grow. And generally the Latin scares the shit out of bosses, companies, doctors, self-appointed authoritarians that tell you shall and you may and etc. So with that backdrop now and premise set, persona, Latin, England, back in day, that was, and it is described here as the definition, mask worn by actors, character, part in a play or in life. Person, so there we go. B, station, rank, condition. So then you've got like things like personnel as well. We have Francais in with the English. Personnel, little French word, the military, the army, you see. Personatus, persono, persona. So there, I'll leave it there. It's a bit like a carry-on film here where I'm going to introduce Biggest Dickus. Or is that Monty Python? But either, you get where I'm coming from, yeah.
What did the
Boom,
Romans ever do?
continentia.
And the Romans come from the Roman.
He has a wife, you know.
Merchants.
Yeah, that's it. So chat room, chill out and know your shit. You shouldn't have got me trapped like that. I shouldn't have fell into that
Persona
trap.
mask, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Along-
and do you Do you remember when everyone wore them masks? Like, do you remember that? Did I dream that? When everyone just put, physically put a nappy on their faces. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was weird, wasn't it?
Dave, just go. The other thing with piss poor is that's attributed to the same thing is haven't got a pot to piss in.
Oh, then you can't take your
Even
piss to a
poorer.
tannery.
Then you can't go and get your money because you ain't got a pot to put your piss in. That's how skint you are.
Fucking hell. Then we've got Dead Ringer, Graveyard Shift, and Dead Ringer go cap in hand because Dead Ringer. Oh, do you know you're a Dead Ringer for our Dave? What? But he died last week. Yeah.
I thought Dead Ringer was a nickname for Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, aside from that, moving swiftly on, I cannot confirm or deny, but I can say that when the Graveyard Shift operated, I don't know what time, but it's normally, the 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. shift is known in England commercially as a graveyard shift, the shift that not many people want to take by choice in the form of voluntary slavery. When you submit your rights, present your application. See, forced slavery is illegal, but voluntary slavery, you see how they get us into this, and you think it doesn't exist when you're all doing it, including myself. So, no fingers are pointing on this one, but the Graveyard Shift listened for the people that were buried that weren't really dead. And when the police were this isn't word, I'm paraphrasing, and I haven't much evidence except from discoveries. So if you've got anything alternative, I will listen to it. But I present this one when they were exhuming graves for investigations with the police and the ministerial occurrences, judiciary, etc. They'd find on some of the coffins broken fingernails and scratch marks, which told them, as an inquisitive, investigative minds, that people weren't always dead when they were buried, and they were making live people, they were interesting them. So when they're dead, let's just keep that, and I'm sorry for all of this, but you need to hear it. Interest, the interested, your eternal rest, and you're going into the ground. So you are interred and you are resting, so you are interested into the ground for your eternal rest. And when that was happening, they weren't always dead. So then they decided to put a string on one of the fingers, probably your index, and then it had some kind of mechanism going up to the top of the grave with a bell. And then that's when you'd obviously wake up. Oh shit! Where am I? Exactly. Ring the bell, scramble in for the. What? I can't believe it. And then that guy on shift would come out and ring and dig you up, and you'd be saved. And then the next day you'd be wandering around, obviously back to fucking here, great. Or a week or so later, I'm not saying you have an immediate recovery, and then you'd be like, hang on a minute, aren't you our Callie? She looked just like our Callie. She did. It is Callie actually. What the fuck? Dead Ringers.
Wow,
there is a movie. Sorry, there is a movie about this with voluntary slavery, and it's called The Jones Plantation.
Oh yes, Mr. Jones is. Yeah. I've done a thing on that. Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant because it explains all the way how they are letting slaves free by their own will, but then they are telling them, yes, you are free now, but you know what? Then you have to leave this place, you get nowhere to live, nothing, you have no security, nothing. So these people, they was actually voting there, and they was voting themselves into slavery, voting themselves into control system. They had their own law system, their own money system there. So it's like that movie explains it so good. Jones Plantation, I think it's called.
Yeah, I've not heard of that. I'll have to check it out. I think it was the 14th Amendment of the US Constitution, because it's not the true Constitution. It was just like the corporate one. But like you said, they people signed up for it, but it was just because it was just from overt slavery to covert slavery, and I can't remember the actual precise thing. But I mean, it's like people think in this country that we don't have a constitution, but we only stick to law. We don't do legal with it. The powers of the people are only ever delegated, for our representatives in state business. It's just like super interesting. I've just come up with another one on going back to the original one, but Hair of the Dog.
Shit.
Now, hair of the
Okay.
dog was you
Yeah.
got a dog bite or a rabid dog bite. The hair from the dog was placed in the wound. So in the sense that having another drink or any drink is like taking a hair from the dog that bit you. That's where that one came from.
Yeah.
And like I say, people think we're nuts because we think everything means something, but everything really does when you kind of break it down,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It's mad, beautiful.
Oh,
And
it
it is
does.
it's the decode, isn't it? Because they can say what they want, words, narratives, spells, all that stuff. But really, when you break it down, it's kind of hopefully it's simple.
Crucifixion. Cross of fiction. It's right there in your freaking face. Cross of fiction. Cruce, cross, say, of, fiction, fiction. Same thing. Crucifixion, cross of fiction. Have a go
Oh
on that
God,
one.
yeah.
Suck on
Well,
that.
that's it. And then the cross is the cube. The cross folds into a cube. That's that Salvador Dali, famous Salvador Dali
Yeah.
painting, the
Yeah.
Corpus Hypercubus. Jesus, like I said, J is a Latinized word, so there was no Jesus. It
When
didn't. The
what
name
year
didn't
was
exist.
the letter J added to the English
69.
language alphabet? It wasn't until very recently the letter J.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
if
500 years, I
Jesus
think.
and if in the times of the JC, you've obviously can work that out yourself. 2024, go to 0 to 33. Hey presto!
Yeah.
In those times, in those lands, Aramaic would have been probably, most likely, 90% the language that they spoke. The word for God in Aramaic is Allah. Oops.
Allah. Well, and again, Ramadan, the Muslims with Ramadan
Is
means the
it? I
mother
need to
of
check
Dan.
that. Go on.
The mother of
Carry on.
Dan, which is the
Yeah, yeah.
tribe of Dan, which is Ludan, which is Lundan, Babylon Dan, which is King Lu, which is Lucifer, which is Sirius. It's all in the language. And actually, that I postulate again. You decide. But on Dark Matters, that actually all the biblical stories came from this land, and they've been telling us that Israel's over there because that's the state of Israel. The state is a condition in a contract. Of means without, so it's without Israel. But actually, the true land is that all the biblical stories happened here. I mean, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They're not really. They're British names, aren't they? The
Yeah.
disciples. Why they call Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? Why weren't they called Muhammad? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't.
Yeah, typical names. Names to
It doesn't
suit.
make it doesn't make any sense. And actually, Jerusalem, if you look at Stephen J.D. Beatty, we've just interviewed, and if you don't kind of know, maybe watch the other videos we've done on it first because Stephen just blows it out of the water. But it doesn't make any sense. And he basically postulates that Edinburgh was Eden or Edinburgh and that Jerusalem was here,
Wait,
Atlantis.
another
And it
one.
was all,
Stop, because I'll forget. I'm loving this. Hey, Zeus, Greek. So each
yeah,
dynasty that wins, like the Ottomans and the Romans and the empires that battle and win and build their temples on the temples of the other temples on Capitol hills and so forth. Oh no,
yeah,
I've actually forgotten. Oh, Zeus, Greek god, Zeus, Jesus. At least they've even given you a clue with the name of Jesus, despite what we've all said here. Zeus, Jesus, Jesus, he is us. Jesus, Jesus. So Zeus is there as well. It's sometimes it's cleverly hidden, and sometimes I just think they were a bit pissed and thought, oh, that'll do. And the
in
fish.
French,
themselves now. I think it's gone on that long. Sorry, go on, Anders.
yeah, but in French, you say je suis, that is I am.
Boom. Look at
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, just I
Yeah.
am.
And the fish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just
But the thing is that I
toss.
am movement, that is not a good movement. That I am movement has destroyed so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
the sorry, Anders, that's relevant and I like it. Thank you. But the fact that when Santos and others, I forget his name now. There's a really good. It's called Lifting the Veil. He's called Cullen Smith or Cullen
Oh,
something.
Cullen
Lifting the
Smith.
Veil.
Yeah.
Boom. He was
Cullen
on
Smith.
about the fish,
Yeah.
the man, the ejaculation of man, the sperm. The fish
Yeah.
smell, the seed, the chrism, the Christos oil, the oil, and all of this going up the spine to the Santa Claus, and I'm like, no, stop it now. This can't be the Santa Claus story. The pineal gland, the pine tree, the Christmas tree. I'm like, what? The spine, the pine, that one, that story, all of that evolution. I love this, and I know you lot do as well. and the scribes, and the works that have been done. When we say standing on the shoulders and working with, it's not always 100% factual, but some of it just like it makes me want to smoke weed again and just zone off. It makes me want to self-sedate, get some benzodiazepine, a pint of Stella, half ounce of weed, and just forget it. For we find information, and I need to meditate. I need to think this can't be. If we tell YouTube this, it's going to break the internet, but it's already out there. It's just for us. It's magnificent. I yield.
Oh yeah, and it's bringing it all in as well. Like especially like there's a guy called George W. Curry. If people want to look into this more, he did an amazing book. I think it's called the Man of God or the God Man, something like that. Anyway, and it goes into the chrism and the raising of that. And then with Stephen J.D. Beatty, where we're talking where all the biblical stories came from this land, Albion, the land of the giants, Albo meaning white. So white, the RB1 gene that is the blue-eyed, white skinned, and nobody quite knows where they came from, but it goes back to the Anunnaki myths and the Nephilim, and we are standing on petrified titans and all kinds of stuff. But that the land itself of Albion has a spine that has 33 nodes, just like our vertebrae has 33 in it, Jacob's ladder basically, which leads to that pineal gland. Really Jesus
Illuminati. Sorry,
Between
yeah,
two- yeah.
33. 33.
between two thieves, and the two
Yeah.
thieves are the eyes, because Lucifer, the sigil of Lucifer, is exactly the same shape of how we perceive light. So when we kind of move through and beyond the illusion and we go within, and it did also happen, which is the crazy part, this raising of the Kundalini, and again, they get us away from, the serpents or 33s like Masonic and everyone humanizing it. And that's why it's so important to look at it, because if you don't integrate, there's a tree of life and a tree of death. That's one thing that people don't understand. And actually you've got to kind of move through both. You've got to embody both, like to kind of, and you're not ascending anywhere. We are the true power anyway, but it would have been multidimensional. We would have been the magi, hence the word a magi nation. You've got magi in the middle of it because it's us that's creating it, right? And that's the fucker. That's the fucker that gets you on the last flip. But and that when we ascended is really, I suppose, like you say, David, it is rising up this chrism, and that's the true Christ. But like I said, I think whoever Jesus Christ, whatever he was called, and there's a big debate about that, he just did that. And he led that way, he then showed others, if I am the way and I am the light, and that's what that is. And they've hijacked that, like they hijacked frigging everything, and inverted it, and getting people just to worship shit outside of themselves. And like I say, it's that victim savior template, that the Roman church, the Roman offering you salvation if you worship at their altars, as a person, and you don't know who you are. When the biggest thing in scripture is know thyself, elven. You are the Elohim, or not.
The golden,
I always say that. I
the
have to add
golden
that.
rule.
You might think this woman's mad, and I may be. That's fine too. But again, that this is the story that moves my consciousness. It may not be the same story that moves yours, and that's okay. That's okay.
You are a breath of fresh air. You are. It's already like 8:40. We started at
I know.
half seven. So 7:30. We're done an hour.
We'll have to do a part 2, won't we? Because we're like.
Yeah,
Did
it's
an
all
hour
good.
before.
The golden rule, yeah, also the teachings in with that, and what that is, the golden ratio, the phi, the Fibonacci, the Pythagorean, phi and pi, the golden rule, do unto others, do unto yourself. There is a lot, yeah. It's not, we've disregarded the scriptures. We don't hold them in high esteem as what others do. We don't take them literally.
Code, innit?
But yeah, it's the code in there, the mathematics, the gematria, the Torah, the original language, the Kabbalah, the Kabbalah, etc. Fascinating, it really is. What I also want to segue in is the Egyptian. Why do if you've looked at any of the royal families, and the Lord Mayor of London, the military, these factions and institutions that are together, they show you, the black rod, the orb that they have. The same as in Egypt, the Ankh, certain what would you call it, artifacts that they have within the jewellery, the crown jewels, etc. The stolen rubies from other countries and gems and etc. And the way that they're encrusted into the gargoyles, the architect. It's just in your face. It's not just for show, is it? But the Egyptian connotations, Amen Ra, Akhenaten, and going from polytheism to monotheism, the study of God. That's what led us into Crowley, Lovecraft, and Hall. Creatures, that lamb guy, alien encounters. Are we still? Have we received? Do the Egyptians? They knew boats didn't fly, but they've got a flying ship. They've got the flying boat of Ra, sun ship, because that's the only language they had at the time. The commonalities between then and now, the Nubian, Kemet, alchemy. Egypt is not spelt in traditional cultural indigenous language. It's a Greek word that has named that country. It's a Greek spelling. Why? What's going on? Who was Princess Escotia? Who's Scotland? Notia, Nova, Minor, Greater, Nova, Notia, Druids, Gaelic, Celtic. You're right. We have looked. We can't definitively, but we're interested, and there are, and still today. You've mentioned Magi. Who were they? The magic Magi, the three wise men that followed a star to the birth of JC. This is all a bit far fetched, and again, the Magi Straits. Magistry, it's there, it's still used today. Astrotheological parallels and words and connotations and definitions and architecture and stolen relics and artifacts and symbology, and it's
the stone of destiny.
The scone. Is it scone or destiny? I'm sure. I know what you mean.
The stoner of destiny. That's what it needs to be. Stoners of destiny. Makes everything kind of clearer. If not, doesn't make you quite hungry. But other than that, I'm totally on the same page. I mean, Stephen J.D. Beatty will even go as far to say that Egypt was just a concept, because one of the theory is that actually all the knowledge came from west to east after the floods, not east to west. So this idea of these Eastern mystery schools is what they created, but actually it was the Irish that went and taught the rest of the world, which is why they mock the Irish and so no, and it's like it's all a bit of a joke, but it's not. And obviously the Roman, and then you've got the Scots. I mean, Trump and Biden, if people are still buying into, I think Q is just one of the biggest psyops. QAnon, QAnon, Canaanite, the canna pie or the canopy of the stars is Canaan and pie. It's like you can just split it up, and you can, me and you, David, we're going on and on with this. I can't remember. I had to do simple things sometimes, but for some reason I retain all this information, and I don't know what that. You'll know there's been a bit of spurge. People go, "Oh my God, you're so clever, Carly. How do you retain all this information?" Sometimes I can't open a shower door in a hotel. Like, it'll take me 10 minutes to whip something out. I've literally no practical application for this. And that's why
you can come in with something here, because when we talk about this Q movement, then we have to go back in history, and in the Russian Revolution there was also something called the Q movement with another name. It was like hope, or it was truth or something. And then they was telling all the people, relax, everything gonna be fine. We gonna take care of this. We are almost there. Just trust in us. And then suddenly they were sitting in the common.
Oh my
and
God!
that was the same operation they was doing in Russia. I don't say it is the same now, but it sure hell looks like a duck, and it walks like a duck, then it probably is a duck. So,
Anders, you've absolutely floored me with that one. That is like super important information for the Q people. It's like, oh, come on, the server just around the corner. Oh, Q's coming to save. No, nobody's coming to save you. Wow, cheers, thanks, Anders. You can send me a link to that. That's some powerful stuff to shut the Q people up. No offense, Q people, but it's just like, the only person that's coming to save you is you. That's the news. But we can do things as a community. Because, like you say, I can't open shower doors and or grow carrots. So, people sometimes think that, oh God, Kelly's so intelligent. No, I can be a right plonker at times. So
Just
Yeah,
talk to the door, Callie. Just talk to it. He'll open.
just like a Jedi mind trick with it in the end, like
That's it. Yeah.
so the tierage of from what we've seen from David Icke to Billy Carson to great other speakers, Alan Watts, Greg Braden, and others, Steiner especially, Archons, Anu leading the Anunnaki, Archons, Dracos, Reptilians, Galactic Empire. It does seem feasible. There are evidences. I'm not dismissing it, but how it tears down the arc, the Mon 1, the arc, the one connection and bridge, the golden arches. McDonald's played on this a little bit with their little symbology and the colours, and as we say, it's in your face. It's not always apparent, but it is there. The Mon arc, the Moon arc, the Minister, the Moonister, these astro. This is what I've been thinking, keeping back, but now is the time. What we don't expect everybody watching to accept or to follow or to even revere this, but we're just trying to let you know that we've done some digging, we've got some skin in the game, and we found who our enemy is and how to fight them. They speak the languages of forked tongue, deception, and there is just the warnings here, like Pazio and other such, Nassim Haramein and more modern teachers and scholars have said that there is a yin and a yang, there is an attraction, there's an atomic reality, if we can say that in this realm. It may well be holographic, it may well be pixelated, it may well be subatomic and quantum, yes, it may well be a simulation, but it doesn't matter. Flat earth, round earth, we've sidestepped the bits we can't deal with and prove because we haven't got the technology and we can't prove it either way. But what we do know is that there are the golden rule in the scriptures, there are things at play that are invisible, like the laws. They're invisible, really. We've created man. A creation of man can never be above man. That's something that Albert said the other day, which was brilliant. That's what we've got going off here with legal. Why it's important for you to come and listen and to join and to share these videos, to promote Callie and ourselves and our domains and our works and our combined talks, and to consider joining and to promote and donate and help and get us some resources so we can move forward with this and help in the ways that we are trained and able and probably born to do, rather than going to, for me, truck trainer, warehousing, 9 till 5. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. I don't want to live a life of luxury on you back of you lot. But we do need to recognise that there are some people out there that have the means, the motive and the capability to get shit done. All right, Kevin has got a lot of work behind him with regards to the DWP. What this man, and in fact Golden Graham, we'll just leave him as Graham because he remains in the private, but what Kevin and Graham have done through their work is saved thousands, tens of thousands. They've saved lives. They've shown people how to cut corners through their critical criteria. They've presented remedy that they've practiced in the private first. It's had the same results each and every time before they brought it out to the public. And they said, Dave, do you know what? We've got something here which we believe is going to be a real winner. And we're like, what is it? It's like, well, it's the government and the agencies, Department of, and how to interact and how to play the game that they're playing with us, with our lives. Now, off the back of that, rest in peace, Carol. She was one that we helped most recently. That's significant. He's helped loads since then. We have private groups and interactions going off all the time. But she was told she was fit for work, but she died in hospital. Yeah, shortly after she was told she was fit for work. This is why we do this, not to fight, not because we think we're above anybody, not to get free money, not because we're scroungers, spongers, or as Rishi Sunak called it, I can't remember his terminology, but it wasn't very nice. Let's put it, the sick note generation or something, was it? The sick note, some culture. It's not a culture. Like no, it's real. It's an entitlement. And in the face of bankruptcy and the state of play with the fiscal fear Barclays have got an advert on TV regarding money and how your relationship with money is nurtured as a child. It's a lie. The Advertising Commission should have picked up on that and said, actually, Barclays, that's not money, that's credit, that's cash. Lord Denning, Bank of England, the Bankruptcy Act, 1800s, 1900s, it's all provable and in history, but nobody's picked up on that. They lull you into believing that there is money and that there is X, Y, and Z when there isn't. It's lies and deception. The work that Kevin and Graham have done with language and that there is just amazing. And we've found that by working together. The work that Callie's doing and helping out others with, no doubt you'll be able to provide evidences, testimonials, your own, from the talks and everything that's gone off, evidences and feedback on that. The work that SPLs has done with regards to all of the umbrella that we have, we've created a repository for the last 10 years, I believe, just about 10 years going into the website being established, which is basically a repository, a private educational foundational trust of law, a Rosetta Stone. It does need trimming and it's not the best it can be, but I'm just a fool in essence, trying to help and to put things in a place where it can be recorded and registered, and not registered in the typical, but registered with you in your cognitive minds. It's private, non-commercial, non-for-profit, charitable, etc., and it always has and will be. So we need to recognise that now we need to move in the directions with this knowledge, and you don't all need to learn this or to be able to take it on. We have people, souls in place that can help and manage, and the best way also is not just for the names and the faces that you know to step up, but for those that have used these, have been duly informed, that have used these processes that we've proposed to you. We like it when others come on and put in the comments. Kevin's DWP video, one comment was in there by somebody who's genuine, there's nothing to do with us or anybody we know. I've used your words, Kevin, and exactly what you said happened has happened, and I can't thank you enough. Boom shanker. Stuff like that. This is what's going off, isn't it? This is what we're aiming for. I yield.
Yeah, we just, what we do is initially when we first, Graham and I first got into it, because we're both subject to it. It's not because we thought we'd help other people out. We were subject to it. So we threw ourselves under the bus first before we offered anything out to anybody. We tested it on ourselves. We're not these people that come along and go, oh, why don't you try this? Not knowing. We threw ourselves under the bus. But the whole point of what we do is we give you all the tools you need so you don't need us. You can do it yourself. And we give you everything. In fact, we're going to be releasing a transcript of a call one of our members made just recently to an assessor. But I can't actually put the recording up, but we're going to do a transcript of it. And it was just glorious. We'd given her a few pointers, told her what questions to ask, and her assessment was over in about 2 minutes. Job done. And they had to pass it back to the DWP. And of course, we caught them out lying and everything. And so we told them that. And we've been informing the DWP, you want me to go and be assessed by these people? They've lied about this. They've lied about that. Blah, blah, blah. I will not consent to have anything to do with them. And the DWP go, okay, we'll give you a paper-based review then, which means nothing on telephones or face-to-face. They have to use your medical evidence.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
That's where you need to be. But yeah, she just, and they normally send you a link, right? If you question the assessor, who the assessor is, they'll send you a link to this person on the General Medical Council website. Well, this call the other day, first thing she said, she's been fighting them, and then they said, "Oh, we could, you can check out who the assessor is on the GMC website." Now, normally they send you a link, right? They'll email you a link or message you a link, and you can go and have a look. So anyway, that didn't happen. So the first thing in between all this, the DWP has said, well, what you can do is you can ask the assessor while you're on the phone and go and check and, go and have a look on the website. So We asked the assessor, who went, "Oh yeah, what's your registration number?" Because what we were going to do was put them on hold. So let me just go and have a look. And I was going to say to our friend, I was going to say, "Yeah, put her on hold. Go make yourself a cup of tea. Then come and then sit down. Leave them on hold because the chances are you'll go back to the call and they've hung it up. Well, that's them leaving the assessment, not you." So I said, "That's what they'll do to you. Mess you about. Do it back to them." Anyway, so she says to this lady, she said, "Oh, the DWP has said I can check out on the GMC. Can I have your registration number?" And the woman went, "Yeah, it's got it here somewhere." And then all of a sudden she went, "Actually, I'm not very happy about giving out my private personal data." So we were like, "Well, hang on a minute, because if we'd asked the DWP, they would have just sent us the link. So you won't give us data, we ain't giving you nothing." And then just asked her, "What's your experience and qualifications in?" I think one of it was type 1 diabetes, and her other issue is macular degeneration. So she said to him, "And what's your experience of qualification in this?" She went, "None." So she said, "And what's it in type 1 diabetes?" She went, "None." So, "Sorry, I can't consent to have anything to do." "Oh, okay then, bye." It's very simple. They have to have knowledge of you and what they call themselves, healthcare professionals, Callie. Right? Well, if I go down to the old people's home and make them a cup of tea, I'm pretty sure I'm a healthcare professional. That is the reality of it. And what we say to them is, we've been assessed by professionally, medically qualified personnel, i.e. consultants and doctors. So if you want to assess me, you've got to bring in people at that same level. Can't be below. So at that level or above.
Interesting. Of course. Like you say, like working it out probably wasn't simple, but like when you put it like that, it's just so simple, isn't it? It's always
Yeah,
paradoxical. It's like, because the thing is, what you've done there, Kevin, is just like you've taken a load of complex blur, and then, as I always say, like created a meme and a way through for people that, like, say, is understandable, simple, but like that's taken like no doubt years and years, or maybe, like that's amazing.
yeah, we've been at it a while. I say, I had to go through 2
Yeah.
tribunals, which I walked because we go in with such strong stuff into a
Yeah.
tribunal. The tribunal just like,
Wow.
"We can't do anything. We can't go against it because you're using all of their rules." Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. It's a shame they don't follow them, isn't it?
Always it in it. Just got to use their own rules against them, isn't it? They've got to
Yeah,
follow it, and they don't. I mean, it's shocking, isn't it? It's all an illusion. The system is just an illusion. It
yeah,
literally is. Even to the point at companies' house, they don't even register their own stuff. Shell companies above that, it literally is just an illusion in the minds of men,
yeah,
and that's as simple as it
absolutely.
can get when we're that
Yeah.
sovereign, man. I'm so sovereign it hurts so Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's
Awesome.
plenty of others, but it's
Kevin
very
is
simple.
brilliant.
Yeah.
It-
Always
Yeah,
is,
it's very
really, isn't it?
simple these
In
days.
the end.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we went through all the technical stuff in order to find or discover how simply you could do it, because
Yeah.
you just certain points. But these people aren't qualified to assess anybody and they just need you to consent. But you never refuse. Never, ever
Yes.
refuse. Just say, "I'm not happy to go ahead at this time."
It's
As
like,
soon
yeah,
as you
like
refuse, sanction
when
because you've
we
refused.
when we teach you that your castle, your private property where you live, whether it's rented, owned, or temporary, whatever, we don't deny visitation. When the door knocks, it's a civil matter. Then you have the right to grant or not grant access, whether it be family, friends, commercial, judicial, constable, legal, police, etc., TV license, goons, officers, whatever it may be. Somebody unexpected turns up at your door. We say that you should know about. We initially found out through common law circles the notice of removal of implied rights of access, and leading on from that, we then created and found that when you like go to say a lord, a state, private manners, etc., you want to deal with somebody, you don't just walk up to somebody's business, place of residence, etc., and expect admittance straight away. You would be polite, you would be expected to show courtesy, to be courteous and be polite, and make an appointment in advance prior to you turning up out of the blue. So when we look at this and your right to protection and to do business and how you do business and for your own protection, social services turning up, this is a good one, isn't it then? Oh, we've just turned up. Can we come in? Well, unexpectedly, catch you unawares. I'm not saying, I'm just going to leave it there because otherwise, it will be a long time. And so we say, okay, we will be letting you in, but not right now. It's not convenient. We would like all visitors to make an appointment in advance prior to turning up. To summarise, a notice on your window or door, all visitors must make an appointment strictly in advance to gain admittance. That's it. So you're not denying and you're not accepting straight away, because most of our sovereign souls try to do the right thing. And by them doing the right thing, the legal system, whatever form it takes, police, constables, TV licence, social services, any canvasser unexpected at the door, is trying to take you down. And if you're that low-hanging fruit that they can latch onto and feed from, they will. So we teach you how to, simple tricks such as that. There are others that we have.
I have a good example, David. I have a really good example.
Yeah, please.
When I was getting caught for speeding, they was jumping out on the street with one of these laser guns. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So he was taking us into the side there, and then he said, "Yeah, you've been driving 14 kilometers over here. So are you accepting this fine here?" And I said, "No." "Okay, then you have to sign this paper here." "No, I won't sign it." "Oh, so you are refusing that?" "No, I'm not refusing, but I'm not sure that I'm doing the right thing here." "Okay, but we have evidence here that you was driving that fast." And I said, "Okay, but can I see the photo?" "There is no photo." They said, "Okay, good luck then." I said, but actually, they have to take it off, and they have to free everybody at that place the same day. So actually, that was a good thing, that I was just saying, "No, I'm not refusing it, but I'm just not sure about how you've been measuring and everything, because this is like impossible things." Yeah. So I was getting out of that fine, plus I saved maybe 10 or 15 other people that had a fine at that place that day.
That's amazing. That's a different continent and jury system to what we judicial judging system. Okay, Callie, 1 minute, because I was about to say before Anders segued in there, the conditional acceptance is another form of important, which you'll be aware of more so than that, where you do not say no and deny, you do not accept and say yes and plead guilt and accept the fines, fits, forfeitures, etc. You do the third option, which is I conditionally accept, and you keep you conform to the legal system, the civil procedure rules, pre-action protocols, etc. And you will say you clean hands and honour, which then links us back to Bible. They couldn't find fault with Jesus Christ, so they as such, they crucified him anyway. Their hands were clean as much as they were covered in blood. I still don't get this clean hands doctrine stemming back from whatever. But the point being that the conditional acceptance, some people don't get why that would be a benefit and an advantage. You have the right to silence, the right to self-incrimination. Why would you, anything you do say may be taken down and used as, okay then, well, the burden of proof lies upon the claimant. So I conditionally accept the claims that have been made, like Anders has just done there then. So it beautifully kind of mirrored what I was going to say after the visitors are seen strictly by prior appointment only at your door. Whatever door that may be, wherever it is, your castle, an Englishman's home is considered his castle. So interesting. I yield and off you go. Thank you. Yeah, Anders as well. You're muted, Callie, if you want to speak and unmute. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And it's just like I always say, it's like if you've got a car and you go to a mechanic and say two mechanics come out and one's holding a spanner and the other one comes with a full tool set, like which one you're going to pick to fix your car? And I think the law's a bit like that for me. So like equity and trust, constitutional law, not, there's tools in those boxes and it depends what the issue and the problem is like. And it depends what kind of tool you use, like, commercial process like that you've talked about. But the one kind of common denominator in it is like wrapping them up with their own bullshit, really, I think, in the main, isn't it? And like I say, it's understanding the game and when you get the game, then it's time to learn the rules of engagement and that's what like Kevin and Anders and you guys do, very beautifully. And that's, it's like you were saying about having to go to work and oh well, having a job, isn't it? It's a job in their system, just over broke, or from the Hebrew or Gaelic, you decide means persecution, doesn't it? So, you,
Job.
David,
Yeah.
certainly should be able to, people with minds like you guys should be doing this all the time. And, like I say, we don't do it for money. Looking, I know there is no money, but it's certainly for love. But it's time to rise for people, or for allow, we can kind of support each other and find ways. I mean, it's like when everyone goes protesting down in London, and don't get me wrong, it's great to show that kind of display, and I'm not kind of slating all that, in any way. I mean, I used to a bit more, but as we know, protest means to accept the terms of the conditions yet be unhappy about it. But can you imagine if we all put, you put all that money that's spent, like 1 million people going down there, and stuck it in a bank account, so David and Anders and Kevin can go and kick some
Oh,
butt
bless
in
you.
it the way that
Yeah.
it should be done. I think fucking hell, come on, let's, we're up against a military army. We need to, I always make a joke, like, we'll be defeated them with our carrots we're growing, sod off. But it's all part and same parcel of the same solutions. But yeah, wouldn't that be amazing, like to be able to, have that kind of pot, or, to be able to, and it's not about that, it's just be of the world or in it. It creates resources to be able to get shit done,
That was the
and the
nature of
time is most certainly now.
that was thank you for that. That was the nature of the 12 credits, promises, aka pounds of the donation to join the
Oh yeah, of
website
course.
and the
Oh
trust.
yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't a money making business plan,
No,
because if it
no.
was, it's hemorrhaging money and not, it wouldn't make profit. It isn't designed. People pay, how
Yeah.
much is a packet of fags and a pint of beer? It's more than 12 promises, isn't it? So we recognise we need to not have paywalls to block, impede people from coming into
Yeah,
our area, private area, from joining our society and collective. So we're conscious about all of the words and that we speak. But so that was, yeah, we tried to build the resources up that way. But it's not, after 10 years we don't really have enough to fund what we need to fund. So I thought
yeah,
it was quantity rather than the quality of the high price. Like the quality could be, people have said you could ask for 40-50 pounds a year, David, for what's in here, but I'm like, no, we could, but yeah, it's we want more in for the lower price rather than a small
yeah,
amount
yeah,
in at the higher price. But we're still working on that. And we
yeah.
with the universe, it will
Definitely.
happen. This show, what we're proposing to do with the future shows, and if suicide is the biggest killer in men, as they say, the news, the public domain right now in 2024, in men under 45, then perhaps if we save some of those people from ending their life prematurely, aka suicide. There's going to be so many edits in this for community standards. So yes, ending their life, committing death, unexpectedly, topping themselves. I'm trying to say as many words as I can so it doesn't all get edited out, but they just generally tend to edit for 30 seconds instead of the actual word. But we'll get there. Perhaps the donations, like last will and testaments, people leave gifts in wills and things. So I'm confident that at some point somebody somewhere will be like, these need some help, and we've got the resources, and it will come along. Until then, we're doing what we're doing, and thank you for that. Now, you repeatedly mentioned constitution, and you're here as a friend, and you're here with respect. I'd like to point out that I've never actually successfully, I've never won anything with the argumentation of constitution, typical now, because we've redefined common law to include equity and trust, whereas previously it was never to do with equity and trust. It was, I demand to see your oath, I demand this, I am not the straw man, I am the living man. People were representing incorrectly common law, practical lawful descent. We've changed it quite a lot, and I've encountered the British Constitution Group, Justin Walker, and I'm not going to mention all the names, but David Robinson, Practical. I went to a Nottingham Moo in 2020 something, early 20s, and I encountered these guys, and I tried to. Hello, Kevin. That was you then.
Sorry, I
It's all
just put
good.
my video off and went to the door, but I'm listening. If you see that, mate.
Oh yeah. So I'm aware of it, and the Constitution, typical like Bill of Rights and etc., is good and valid. But I'm not saying it's not. It's not something.
Constitutional, is it? Constitutional.
Yeah. Well, hey up, Bert. You've been quite. You can get in next then. The Americans' Constitution. You mentioned the 14th Amendment and so forth. The what they have there within their Constitution. And the way that it's laid out, the English Constitution, it's non-codified. So the American Constitution is codified. The 14th Amendment, you referenced it with numbers. We get that. We see that. The English Constitution and constitutional approaches, the courts, the Masonic courts, the jurisdictions that we're in, we steered away from constitutional law to some extent because Admiralty, Maritime, UCC, magistrates, lower non-de jure or jure courts and their business setup as Maxwell and others have pointed this out, was a clash because you're quoting something in a jurisdiction that isn't relevant, so it won't work, which is why you get the trouble that you get. And I mentioned earlier in the video that we mentioned the rules, the legislation, the acts, the statutes, because not for us to revere and hold, they're for our persons and employees of the company, which is the government and the people in office, the wards of the state, to govern and manage them and shove their own words and medicine back down the throat, perhaps with a bit of Latin, case law, etc. It works a treat most of the time. Dun and Bradstreet numbers we found were interesting. So with the Constitution, though, I say all of that, and then the paradoxical situation that we found later on, once our consciousness has expanded, we've chatted, we've looked, we've meditated, we've come back, we've looked at the truth again, and it appears as a different image, and that was the Constitution of England is not codified, and it is to some extent it is encapsulated within the Habeas Corpus Acts, the Data Protection Acts, the Acts and the statutes, the legislative arm of government. When I said what is government, to define government, it's administrative, legislative and judicial. Now you see, and I appreciate for some that may be newer into this than what we are, their brains have popped and the saturation point's gone and they're already on the third joint. Fair play. But for us, it's like, so the Constitution is not just the Bill of Rights and the certain other acts that people put with them that are in the constitutional circles that Mark Ceylon and Justin Walker, Justin Crawford and a few that have passed now. I'm not going to mention all the names, but when I worked with them or tried to work with them, we clashed tremendously. And the refusal of trust, equity, beneficiaries, common law, etc., and different types of courts and the jurisdictions therein. The Constitution of England is not codified, but it's within all of it within that area. So I have used it when I say, because we need to actually because this is another area that I believe is foggy and grey, and it needs to be brought to the table, because people that are traditionalists, like the Bible followers, that are traditionalists and literalists, like the common law advocates and sheriffs and so forth, that are traditionalists and literalists to some extent, also need to take a bow and a step back and say, so it isn't just what we thought, it also encapsulates and that is the way that we look at it. It's not just picking and choosing the bits you want that can be, it's actually recognising it in its entirety for factual and articulate and accurate view and be able to deal with it and recognise it as it is, truly, not what we believe and think. I yield. Ugh.
No, I think that's what's super interesting, and like the work that I'm doing with the last Blue Ball of England, etc., and the stuff that we're doing in the courts is about really just pulling them up on the stuff that's going on in the courts, as we know, without going over it like too much in these bar courts, taking the Nolan principles, etc. These are we're just making the courts public again. As we know, with all administrative courts, if there's not a trial, if there's not a jury there, it's not a trial by jury, then it's not lawful, is it? It's an administrative process. So what you've got in the courts is you've got connivance of the court staff. The judges aren't on their bonds or their oaths, as we know. They're just stating these corporate affirmations. It's uttering the forging documents, and that's like that's a common law crime, criminal crime. It's fraud. I mean, it's not fraud if we join in. I don't tend to like to use that word, but malfeasance, misfeasance, nonfeasance. And the idea is that obviously we can make the judge. I mean, I won't say his name, but everyone knows he's Terry. So Terry can, he can make a judge run out of a court in 38 seconds, but the idea is that we're going to do class action suits on them, starting with the council for these reasons. So I suppose it goes back to my mechanic thing, but I know there's like a lot of crossover and there's a lot of kind of I totally get what you're saying, David. So it would be a cool conversation. I think that is that networking thing again, because I know I've not got all the answers. And I'd be very arrogant to say if I did, I definitely have not. And I'm learning every day and I'm always humble to say that. So, if we can kind of just come together, I tend to think we've all got some kind of piece of the puzzle. Because, in our paper, we are utilising, we do use case law, we use lots of things, and it'd be interesting to see where we can cross over, if there is any, and if that worked at all, and maybe it doesn't, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I think, like I say, we're all on the right path, depending as long as it's kind of working, which we find that it is at the moment. Like we are kind of kicking ass, as they say. But it's just one tool in the box. And I'll just use any old tool in my box
Well,
to kind of
steady
on.
go in the system.
What did you say, Kevin?
Sounded like
I said steady on. Tools in the box. Let me leave it alone.
Kind of, I'm such a child. It went through my mind, to be fair, Kevin. So,
And Albert, what was you on about? With you can take it to the stage, Albert. What? Go on. Have you got something? You've got opinions? Let's hear them, brother.
I think you covered it a bit, really. If I hear many say about constitution, but like you said, it's not ratified, it's not codified, so it's not set in stone. And then they say we have these constitutional values, but those values are even like dismissed when you try and assert some. So what are they worth, really? And I know they was going to do a reform and all that kind of thing, but it's kind of a joke, really, kind of even including any of that, because obviously, are you in the private side or are you in the public side? You've got to know where you're at.
Yeah.
And then obviously using their stuff against them, I get it, but
yeah. Well, I mean, we do come at it from the private side. Like, we don't go into legal. We don't to a degree, like using their own acts and statutes and stuff against them. But we don't go in there, because even though it's like we the people rather than I suppose I in the private. I mean, it's a big area of study, but I suppose we don't have loads of time to. I mean, we've done quite a few videos on it, and on the site, people are interested a bit more. But I suppose, like, the way that I look at it is just utilising. We are definitely staying in lawful with it. I mean, it's like Halsby's laws, isn't it? It actually says in there, nothing can be done to legitimise these administrative courts. It's in their own fucking literature, So it's like, what do you want us to do? Who the fuck are you? And I know it's all this go humbly before the law, but and again, maybe I should. But I'm just like,
but we're not.
No,
we're not before the law.
Killing people. It's theft of our intangibles, our power of attorney. And again, that goes to the beneficiary and the trust. And then also, they all of it. I mean, like I say, like, without going over what I've just said before, and listing everything off that they're doing, that we know that we're doing. And then, I get the equity, and trust is, you've got to come at it from the private. But I suppose, it's quite funny with me and Terry. Terry's Yorkshire, I'm Lancashire, and if you've seen Game of Thrones, it's kind of like we're like House Stark. We're like, get to fuck. That's what Terry's main phrase is, and I know that's not public before the law. And I know that's not like being, in the private and utilizing the paperwork to move the court. I know we are still doing that, don't get me wrong, but we are a little bit like kind of, I don't know, we're just kind of like storming the charge a little bit and not giving a fuck, which perhaps isn't the smartest area. I'm making this sound really bad actually, because we do utilize the paperwork and we do use process, and we are using N244 claims to get to. We use void orders. That's basically what we're going at with the angle we're going at, and we are having success. But it does use UCC as well, because again, if you're going into an administrative court and they're not telling you that's a private court under UCC, they've already failed. But again, if we don't hold them accountable, then they'll just keep doing it. So that's where we're up to. It's time to kind of and that's what we are doing. We are holding them accountable. But again, I see it as a tool in the box. It's a completely different energy to kind of what you guys do, obviously.
No, it's quite
So,
similar. We
yeah.
have similar parallels. It's coming. It is full circle.
Yeah.
We'll use and initially go in and point out and move from like legal to lawful, but we do it in certain ways, and we will use the codified or non-codified legislation, the constitutional principles of. And then when they see that, because we are in, this is the point that we need to get in here as well. Then we are all considered in what we are in. Let's go for the implied trust scenario. So we have estates in kind of estates in reversion. It's everything's reversed, and you said it earlier, whether it's upside down, inside out. I can't remember the words you used, but they were excellent. So we have to, before we are allowed, or it will be entertained at a higher level or within a courts of appeal as an appellant later down the line in a higher jurisdiction, we have to point out to the lower gatekeepers at play certain points which are constitutional. They aren't normally considered, but constitutional, because there are traditionalists and literalists out there with regards to this constitutional view and how it has been up to press. So now we can see that legislation is also constitutional, non-codified constitutional, given royal assent or not, ratified or not. They seem to be able to get away with, like you said, it's incredible what is there. And it's not, and again, when they have a rule book, which is the 10 maxims of commercial law, and you look through that, that's when you start to get an eye-opener. Halsbury's, the 14th edition on whatever about the administrative courts. Yes, again, common law. People will say to you there is no such thing as common law, but then if you see a murder charge, it's a common law offence. But there's no such thing as common law. Your sovereigns think that and what is a sovereign? Well, let's slow it down. I believe that we the people gave our sovereignty away to Elizabeth at the coronation. There was an actual recorded event here. Yes, the hierarchy enslaving you. They, who are they? The hierarchy enslaving you, abbreviated as they. That's who they are, in my opinion. Bible, basic information. Yeah, it's real. You can work. There you go. They see penny dropping. They, who are they? Exactly, the hierarchy enslaving you. Bible, basic information before leaving Earth. Yes, that's what you're given there. It's not true, genuine. It's just what we're saying. So we have to move. Sovereignty is mentioned over 200 times in the Bible, and we the people gave sovereignty, though you cannot give something which you do not possess yourself. It's ergo simple facts. So this is how we quell others, like the people that say, David, this 0 point energy that you're on about, magnets and copper and such, no, there's no such thing, you've smoked too much. Okay, then next time there's a lightning and thunderstorm, just have a look at those megawatts of power that are just freely above your head generating themselves. But there's no such thing as free energy and 0 point. I've smoked too much weed, have I think this conversation's finished, goodbye. This is where we're at today in 2024. I yield.
And it's the waterways of the Romans that they blocked up, and our old waterways that used to charge our kind of cathedral buildings, the domes and the ether. And of course there was free energy if you do enough research into it. We are electrical beings, aren't we? That's that L again. Israel, Elohim, Michael, and
elders,
angels, all the angels, Ezekiel, Raphael, Mike, Elohim, Elven, and electricity. It's maybe we've both smoked. I don't even smoke that much weed, but a little bit. But But yeah, like definitely, and we may start sounding mad to people when you can connect dots, at that level. And I don't mean it because I'm just at that level and you're not. I don't mean it like that, but it's, it's hard. It's hard fought for and won, really, isn't it? Like I always say, if you kind of go down into your own Hades and hell and come out the other side, and you go, you remove the brainwashing, the program, and and then you come out the other side and you want to help others and tell others, then you have just finished the game, my friend. You have just finished the game, and that's all that we can do, really. And if we can kind of come together and do that, like I say, just even if we all just if we all just start communicating and talking with each other, which is what's starting to happen more and more, like these like law heads, and then and we're good at that, what we do. It's just like let the growers grow, let the law heads do, and we all do it together. Then we're really starting to to really achieve something. And that's what they don't want, division, mass migration, all the shitty tricks that they're coming in with now in this land. But
Yeah,
don't get me started on that. That's really,
yeah.
it'll be about now. But
Dave,
yeah.
Yes.
Dave, what about the thing we put up a while ago? The letterhead of the Royal Courts of Justice. Even though for everybody going, yeah, well, you've got to take it to Queen's Bench, or is it now is King's Bench and all that, and you get a letter from the Royal Courts of Justice, and the heading clearly states Royal Courts of Justice, Administrative Courts.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
right
That's
there on the
bullshit.
letterhead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the council
So you're
tax now,
going into that
they're not even
realm.
bothering. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're not even bothering
Yeah.
pretending anymore. That's the
No.
hilarity of it out there. They don't even care anymore, and that's why I don't care anymore. So I'm
Like,
like, okay,
like,
motherfuckers,
like,
let's cha-cha.
Yeah.
like the police, the West Midlands police admitting that their lack of interaction with women and domestic violence abuse calls and 999 calls has contributed to deaths which could have been stopped. Yes, the Met Office, the police, you've got the PC Carrick, haven't you? Cousins recently. Yeah, you've got the post office scandal. We have got so much that is coming out after COVID and the pandemic. With all of that, we haven't seen anybody called to justice for Grenfell, for crashing of the banks, corporate manslaughter. It's just when you say they're not even trying to hide it, we are not even trying to even hold them. Well, we are. Batesy and his thingy with the post office, Stephen Lawrence's mum, but it takes 20 plus years and time, money and resources. People haven't got that. We haven't got that. It's just it has been done. The underdog has risen. The Good Law Project, Matt Hancock, etc. Things do happen, but not as often as they should. And we have to, they're raising the retirement age. They're taking money off pension. You've worked all your
It's
life.
just
You put into the
unbelievable, isn't
system,
it?
and you get kicked in the tits and dick because it's just incredible. What did you say? Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you. It's just like every time I see something. I mean, it's like you used to kind of wake up and every 3 months they'd have something shitty and new that they were delivering, but it's every day, and I mean, it is relentless at the moment, and that I do believe that's because that beast of the sea is going down, and it's just an awareness tip
Yeah.
more than anything. But obviously, it's all keeping on doing what we do. I mean, like say, it's all an illusion. It's all a construct. The common law means to obligate to burden, like I said earlier. Even the common laws, it's all their systems. It's all of it's theirs. Because and this is a very spiritual point because, like we in Ireland they ruled themselves by a thing called Brecon law, one of the oldest systems of law. And I think the Scottish law, I can't remember the name of it now, and that was one of the oldest systems. But it was people. Policing themselves really, and that's not the right word, policing, but
Governing,
we
managing,
yeah,
overseeing,
exactly. These systems, because really inherently we know what's right and what's wrong. Natural law. We know if we're on that side of God and good. But like I say, this hijack of that consciousness, which has seeped into all these systems, I say, get behind me, Satan. Not today, brother. I'm older than time. I shit you last week. And it is, it's laughing in the face of adversity, like I say, it is about losing the fear. And I think once you
Yeah.
face your own demons and
controlling the
your own death,
fear. We
I ain't
need
afraid to
fear.
die, I've done that already.
Control the fear.
Like,
We need an element of fear. We don't lose it anymore. We've changed that to
yeah,
controlling it. We're not having a go at you, but we learn to control it. Fear is healthy,
no,
but forget
yeah,
everything and run, or false
yeah,
environment appearing real. Fear again. It's a
yeah,
bit not
yeah,
just playing fun. Bernie and Bernie's in the house. If you've not looked in the chat room, I
Yeah,
think it's Bern, the Bern, the main man, and also G man Jerry's in there. So we got some knowledge regards Irish and Ireland and Scotland, wealthy knowledge. I want to say a shout out to the chat room there, to those two souls amongst others that we've shouted out and said hello to. We are going to look at closing down because Callie will chat, like myself, forever.
yeah, I will.
This is the home of the long
Gotta be tea.
goodbye. It takes 15 minutes just to say see ya. So we better start it now because that's something we've inherited and is a trait of ours. But we would like to have you back. It has been excellent and well fun. And
Thank
amazing
you.
and enlightening. You can tell others on the video and the live stream where to find you. I've put the links in to the chat. I'll do that when the video's finished as well in the description. But if you want to promote again where you are to be found and what your names are, Callie, of those
Yeah,
places.
so yeah, just have a bit of a toot on the links that David will post. I run the Dark Matters network, like David said. I really do not run that thing for profit. It costs about £300 a month just to run it madly. It's got a huge forum, file section. We do lives in there, all kinds of stuff. But obviously you can find me on the YouTube channel. We kind of announce what we do on there. Um, so yeah, that's all. That's kind of it, really. I don't really. I'm terrible at social media. I need to get better. Apparently, TikTok's the future, and I don't think I find it very difficult to talk for a minute. Like that. That's more of a struggle than talking for 5 hours, as you've all probably gathered with me. So trying to condense into a minute, that just blows my head. So I've got to get around that a little bit because we've got to all do our best to get this information out wider. But no pressure. Come find me, come don't. But it'd be good if you at least subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps. And like I say, I announce everything that we're up to on the too. So, but yeah, thank you for having me, guys, so much. It's such an honor and a pleasure. And
been
keep
great.
doing your amazing work that you've been doing. It's awesome. And if we can collab together, there's a
Yeah,
crossovers. Definitely love to connect you guys with Terry just to see if there is things that because we definitely bring in the trust elements and that. I know trust law, but not like you guys know it, no doubt. So that would be amazing. And thank you for having me.
been a pleasure, Callie. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, guys.
It's been shits and giggles all night long, actually. Yeah, it's been lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Overwhelmed in some
Me
respects. I'm
too.
sure
I always
the
love
chat the chat room has. They haven't said anything negative about you. I haven't seen
it's
one bad
good.
thing. You'll be pleased to know. I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on that, but
I get a little eye on, and I get distracted. So, but yeah, thank you everybody for listening to me. I know I can go on a bit. As my granddad used to say to me, "You're a good turn, but you're on too long." When I was little, I am relentless. But that relentlessness has paid off, in the apocalypse. Let's just put it that way.
you are you're welcome back here anytime. You're like I don't want to say it, but I will say it. It's not like I don't want to for fear of reprisal, but you're like a female version of myself. You remind me of a female version of myself. And I probably remind you of a male version of you, no doubt. I also said to you in one of the first conversations, you remind me of my mum, but I immediately backtracked and said, I don't mean it like that. What I mean is, my mum has letters after her name. She was a teacher in law. She's got studies and certified, and she does Reiki
I'll
healing
take that.
and yoga. And you have the same traits and commonalities. Foot in mouth syndrome. Yeah, myself.
No, no,
Quite
no.
intelligent
That's
some ways, but socially inept in other ways. So again, it's just refreshing and brilliant. And I hope the scribes warm to you, and I hope we can do more things and help your network grow. And have a growing I say relationship loosely. I'm not a fan of these words, but we kind of stuck. We need a lexicon of our own. To be fair, that's the next step, isn't
it's
it? Going
true.
into but
Yeah.
that's far off. We've got to conquer the little hurdles and barriers before we get into that arena. But yeah, it's been brilliant. Much love to you and many thanks. Albert,
Yeah.
Anders, would you like to close down with anything?
Yes, I want to say something here, and it's about our dear friend Lisa in the chat here. She's
Oh yeah.
have she's having a heavy time now, so I just want us to be with her, So we think about the situation she's in, and yeah,
Yeah.
we think about you, Lisa, and we love you.
I think about you all the time, Lisa. We miss you. Although we haven't been around much, to be honest with you. So it's probably our fault. But yeah, we do miss you. And love to James as well, Lisa.
She did say, yeah, I echo that to Lisa James. She said something about effects agent Orange struggling with from a previous comment. We were going in and there was a lot happening, so I pinned it for later on. Yeah, wow. Sorry about that. And anything we can do, you're
You
far
know where
away in
we are,
Alaska.
Lisa.
Thanks for being
I
with
need
us.
to get the
Thank you.
big coat on. Come and
I
see you.
opened in the chat as well. So, and I noticed Eric was bigging you up, Kev. I don't know
Yeah,
whether you noticed it.
yeah, I did see that, and that
Yeah.
was the comment Dave read out from the YouTube. I do believe is Eric's comment about using the words, and they've left him alone. So I do believe that's come from him. Yeah, I appreciate that, Eric, as well. It's nice to get a little bit of feedback. So we do our best. We try and give you all the tools. We have got all the answers. The problem is those bastards that we give the answers to. That's the only thing we can't control is what they do. But we can unravel it all. As I say, we're still running at a 100% success rate. Simple as that. Nobody's failed. Might take some time, but we get it done.
Yeah, well done. Amazing work. Living legends for that.
Awesome.
Wow, yeah. I'm exhausted after today in Sheffield at Meadow Hall.
Oh, yes.
My Queen's rotation around the sun. I can't say her age, but yeah, she's a good number. Next year's a landmark number. I'm back. Yeah, I know. I'm back at the office tomorrow. I start my 4th job this year. Not 8 till 4, I think the hours are, but we'll see what happens. We'll try and do some more interactive shows with the title that we have put there, which is your spiritual, physical, and mental wealth show. This is number 1 with Callie Spell. We're going to look at bringing that number down. Premature deaths in England, the biggest killer in men under 45. Research, Jordan Peterson, the names we've put out there. Do your own research. Never believe anything any of us say, because we make mistakes. I especially have done over the years. I'm not saying that I needed this assessment to have labels. I saw a comment earlier about fake make-believe disorders that the academics appoint us with. Yeah, we are original and unique, and I don't think of it as a negative or a disorder. I have some bloodlines on this planet, in this realm, and I'd like to be able to definitively say, from an academic standpoint of view, how they interpret and they have said I have traits of. I know that already, but I wanted to get some. When you encounter the police and a judge, if you say I'm a bit different and I'm officially a bit different, you can preach and have your implications. You can infer all you want, but if you haven't got anything to back up, it makes it a bit harder. But if you turn around and say, by your own book, by your own methods, by your own adjudicators, by your own inquisitors, etc., yeah, I am not normal, yeah, and so leave me alone. I want, reasonable adjustments to be made. I'm not a troublemaker. I'm not a free man on the land. Neither am I a sovereign citizen. Now fuck off and leave me alone. Yeah, I'm a freak by your, whatever. I'm just playing. Yeah, but hyperactivity, that's the key to where we are and what we're at. Yeah, Callie kind of fits some of those labels. She said it herself. I'm not labeling her. And that's what we're looking for. If you are labelled by the system, a freak, a misfit, a disorderly, we want you, we love you, we need you. And so does your country, by the sound of it. I yield there, yeah.
I
Agreed.
can fill in with the Garamitas. The Garamitas, there was a tribe of white people living in North Africa. And they was building up a community, they was building up a city, everything out in the desert. So they was surviving. They was fixing everything what they needed, and they was the Geremitas.
And it's
And they
wow,
was,
that has blown me away.
yeah,
We're going to talk more on this, Anders, because that's news to me. It would be Yaramita. The G would be pronounced as Y
yeah,
in Sicily, Castelvetrano, Sicily, Siciliano. It's actually
yes.
Yaramita, and I'm not sure if that is a spelling the same or not because I've got a good grasp on
Of
where.
course it is.
Yeah, wow. Okay then. Yeah, where
Yeah,
my granddad was, there was a big catastrophe, and all the halls of records and everything were destroyed in the village village where he was born in Italy. So we've done some extensive digging, and that is news to me. So thank you, brother. I'm not a Zulu. I know that. Africa, God bless you. Anything
no, it
else?
was actually a Sicilian tribe or something that was coming over to Africa, and
Oh,
they was starting that.
giants
Yes,
also, dolmens, the dolmen buildings they have, what we found out about. Ancient aliens brought that to me. Oh, Georgie Sakulas, is it, or whatever, and the gang
yeah,
brought the Italians, giants, where we was talking, Callie mentioned Albion, the land's names, England, etc., history, giants. David and Goliath, yeah. Talos, Greek, more giants there, but he was metal. The Iliad of Homer talks about Talos. If you've seen Sinbad, not is it Jason and the Argonauts, the big giant, the foot coming out, similar story,
Yeah.
based on true story. If you know of Homer and his Iliad, you will know of Talos. And oh man, it's time to go. We're shutting down. Sorry. Thank you, Anders. See what we like.
I'm going, yeah. Okay, yeah. No.
It's a red flag. Come on, Albert, Callie, Albert.
I
Come on, anything
I
else?
yield.
Thank you, chat
No,
room.
just again, thanks,
Yeah,
thanks. Like I say, I could talk for hours about this stuff. So yeah, no, definitely we'll come back and we'll do some more. But again, yeah, just keep being you guys, and
Yeah.
I shall catch you on the flip. And again, just thanks for having me. It's been real fun.
our organisation and our advertising and so forth could be more professional and in tune. You're not alone there. We're terrible ourselves, and I've got some admins to help. As fortunate as we are,
Yeah.
and yeah, we do the best we can when we can. We're not running a business at all, but we will. Yeah, look forward to having you back, and we will work together as where we can. We're going to do more of these shows, and if you know anybody, or anybody that might need to meet us, or if we find anybody to might need to introduce you, we'll do so. We'll get you some plugs on the domain, and see what we can do going forward. Everyone, mental wealth, spiritual and physical. I think we've got to address these issues right now, because it's only going to get worse. And if we can't help each other and recognise each other, then yeah.
I'll be doing. Beautiful.
I have one more question before you go
Oh,
putting this up, and
yeah.
this is to Charlie. And the question is, what do you think about the Zionists and the role they have been playing?
The Zionist, did you say, Anders?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, how long have you got? Because obviously we
Okay.
know that, in scripture they were given a choice, weren't they? They were the Canaanites of old who were kicked out of actually England or Scotland, Albion. And they obviously we know that they're not real Jews, because remember Jay's like only a 500-year-old letter as well. So they were the Jews, and they were yew tree worshippers, according to my studies and research. But again, there's a perspective there, no doubt. So yeah, I mean, obviously they were the tribe of Dan, or the Tuatha De Danann, which were the shepherd kings of the Anu. And Anunnaki just means, Anu means to fall, and Aki means earth. That came from, is it Aki, the god Aki? I think, if we know our history, and we stop thinking that they were myths, like we've been taught, and actually start to really look for the, like we've said, it's signs and symbols and sigils. Once we kind of read that and the language, it's all done anyway. But the Zionist Jews, those bloodlines are still, the tentacles have reached into every. We've just been slaves. We've always
The
been
Bank of
slaves.
England. Sorry. Wow, why
Yeah,
did
the
that
Bank
come?
of England. Yeah, the Bank of England, the city of Lundan or Ludan. I mean, it's like I say, plug in my YouTube channel. All this stuff's on there. Yeah, if you want to come and watch
Good.
some of the videos, and we deep
Oh,
dive it
cool.
in a huge way.
Great,
Yeah,
great. And I have
isn't
a
it?
show for you too.
It's a good show, man.
Callie, I was just going to say, you were saying about them worshipping the yew tree, which is
Yeah, we were the
remarkable,
original
seeming as
Druids. Yeah,
the yew tree is the only thing not poisonous on it is the berry.
yeah,
So they were
yeah.
worshipping a
Interesting.
poisonous icon.
Yeah, well,
Which,
and do you know, and sorry, go on.
no, that's it. I was just saying. So the only part that isn't poisonous is the berry,
Yeah.
but you must spit the seed out.
And you generally find it in graveyards, and it grows very
Yeah,
slowly. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Just gonna
well,
say, you see, and that's why they always put yew trees in graveyards. Now, we, the Druids, the Romans came and slaughtered all the Druids. Now, you like this one, David, and before we carry on for another 3 hours, but they, I did have a little bit of a smoke, right, of a cigarette, obviously. But and I wrote, I must have been a bit tuned in, and I wrote this down, and I wrote down, the Romans came and slaughtered the Druids so that we couldn't hold up the dome, right? And in the morning I thought I'd wrote it in my diary, and I thought, bloody hell, spell, what you on about there? Like, well, and I thought about it. Anyway, when we interviewed Stephen J.D. Beatty, he said this, and this was very independent. And he said the Romans came and slaughtered all the Druids because they were holding up the force field. And I just went, and you'll see my face on the interview go, and I thought I wrote that down the other night. Now, so not so much the kind of the firmament, though Cullen Smith, credit to him for this one. Firm means stubborn and ament means idiot. So firmament means stubborn idiot. So I always think it's just the limitations of our own mind that we place on this because that's what they've done to us because we've forgotten who we are. But yeah, certainly that I think that we apparently the Druids were yew tree worshippers. We didn't worship the tree specifically, but that the yew trees are actually portals, and we would have been more magical back in a kind of Tolkien sense, Middle Earth kind of thing. So that the yew trees are, they're the same as they are above as they are below, which is why they are very, they're used as big symbols in churchyards and graveyards. And they are, the Fortingale yew in Scotland is one of the oldest yews in the world, and actually is a portal into other dimensions. Apparently, the Zionists or the Anu come from the underworld near Hadrian's Wall, which is why Hadrian's Wall is called Hadrian's Wall because it represents the Milky Way and that it represents Hades. I mean, it's so deep. Honestly, I will literally keep you here for but plug, check the YouTube out. It's all on the YouTube that we're deep diving this stuff now. I mean, it's absolutely mind bending and fascinating. But it links into the law. It links into the deception. It all ties in. Now, the devil's in the detail. We can all disagree on perhaps some of the details, but when you pull that proverbial thread, you're unraveling that Zionist cardi, let's say.
yeah.
But yeah, don't
Thank
get
you
me
for
started.
that answer. That was beautifully said.
Duanan Di Dan, Tuathan. I can't even say it properly, and I got some Irish lineage and heritage there with Hanlon. But yeah, you don't often hear that being talked of, that subject, that line of Inquisition, the referencing to, is fascinating. It really is, and thank you for bringing that up because not many are aware or mention, or even myself, I am over the last few years, but it isn't always, able to be talked about. That's something that is massive in itself. What you've encompassed there, and the Anu and the analogies into that. Again, I have the box sets from series 1 to 18 of Ancient Aliens, but I'm not promoting them. But it's the History Channel and etc. But there's the wealth. I did find it through those guys. Yeah, again, and the wealth of knowledge through all of the many of the researchers in with that. It's it was brilliant for you to mention that, and in light of Anders' question, how you answered that. Well done, yeah.
Yes, and before we hang up too, we have to say there is a comment here, and it says, Kali, lovely lady, thank you. Long time listener to Espilus Pro, good honest people, always fascinated with the explanations of lore and the systems we can find ourselves caught up in. Many thanks.
No.
Many thanks.
No.
So
I love the comment. Thank you very much.
Here it's good comments, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I appreciate that. Like I say, sticking your head above the parapet, you know, 95% of the time it's a beautiful thing, but you do you do get it shot off on occasion. So it's always lovely when people say such lovely things. So thank you, whoever said that. I do appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you, admins.
Yeah.
Thank you, chat room. Thank you, everybody. We'll be
Thank you,
back
everybody.
in a week or so. I reckon it'll be the weekends. We'll be coming in the evening. I think live show streaming. Look out for the notifications. We'd like a thumbs up, a share. Visit Callie's channel. Check the description. And yeah, much love and thanks to everybody. Bosh. Reach out. Admins, one and
Good
all.
job, guys. Good job.
Thank
I
you,
mean, good
Callie.
work, not job. We don't want a job. Okay, guys. Thanks so much.
No, it's been a pleasure, Callie. Thanks a lot. We must do it again soon. We'll get
Yeah, thanks,
organised.
Albert. Thanks, and
I
Bye,
only have
take
Kevin.
care.
one more question. No,
No,
I'm just joking. I'm
bastard.
joking.
Do you think you are Columbo? Let's go. See you later. Ciao.
Cheers, lads. Love to
That's
everybody in the room. Thanks for joining us. See you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Callie.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much. Love you loads. Bye.